What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6 BD. Chapter 121 The Power to Destroy the World, Pluton's Power in One Blow. Advertisement. The Underground Palace of Alabasta. The place where the historical text was once hidden has been transformed into a secret underground port. The sea water flowing in the harbor showed a strange black color. The sea leads directly to the sea. It was supposed to be normal sea water, but it seemed to be affected by some irreversible effects, and it turned into pitch black. If someone is here, they will be shocked to discover that the root that makes the sea water and everything around it is dyed black as a behemoth that lies in the endless darkness. The whole body of the behemoth is made of some kind of black metal, and the bottom of the ship that can't be seen, the black muzzle, it is an unimaginable battleship. The fact that the warships are just there side by side gives people a sense of depression of breathing difficulties. What else could be a warship with such a majestic power besides Pluton? At the same time, at the height of thousands of miles away from where Pluton is, two figures of a man and a woman stand impressively above the clouds. The man's posture is stalwart, and the power that is invisible seems to be more palpitating than Pluton. The girl is very cute, with a pink dress and a silk ribbon tied tightly around Xiaoman's waist, which outlines a curvaceous curve that is not yet fully unfolded, but is already enough to make people stare. Vivi's jade porcelain-like lotus arm, tightly holding the arm of the man next to him, with a pretty face, July 20th, looking around with joy. Clouds and mists, clouds and cranes haunt from time to time, so that the girl who saw this scene for the first time felt like being in heaven. Vivi rejoiced. So beautiful. After she finished speaking, she had big blue eyes, shy and joyful, and secretly watched the man beside her, and then looked towards the sea below her feet. In Vivi's cognition, the boundless and vast sea, when viewed from here at this moment, seemed small, even a little insignificant. Vivi knew in her heart that it was not that the sea became small, but that she stood too high. What about the vast sea? Vivi clasped the man's arms tighter, raised his head, and looked at the man's handsome face with admiration, and thought. Brother Dover, but a man standing in the sky. Dover lowered his head at this time, saw Vivi admired the small eyes, smiled slightly, and pointed a finger on the girl's upright chong nose, and said. Get started, Vivi, let us witness together how powerful the legendary Pluton is. Vivi lit his little head vigorously. Don't mention how happy Vivi was to witness such a moment with Brother Dover that was enough to be recorded in history. Beside Vivi, there is actually a black figure that only Vivi can see. Mingming, let's start, don't make too much noise. The black and slim figure said. Understood, Master Vivi. Soon, Alabasta, thousands of miles away. The originally solid desert surface suddenly cracked. No, it's not cracking. But those countless sands, all turned into white lines, automatically separated to the sides. It turns out that the surface here has been assimilated into a line by Dover's awakening ability. This means that without Dover's permission, no one can approach here. The surface of the earth was separated to both sides, and in an instant, the sun's rays surged in, illuminating the ancient weapon Pluton that had been in the dark for so many years. Next moment, this ancient behemoth, the god of destruction that has been dormant since ancient times, has awakened. I saw the whole body of Pluton, suddenly bursting into black light. When the black light blooms, even the sun's rays must be avoided. Buzzing. In the void, a dull sound like a roar of a giant beast suddenly sounded. Upon listening carefully, it was clearly coming from the dark holes on the Pluton deck. Advertisement. Pluton is completely different from ordinary warships. Its blast holes are not on the sides of the hull, but on the deck, the wide and boundless deck. There are 108 black holes covering the deck. It seems to be a hole from hell, and people can't help but feel endless chill at a glance. Buzz. Jay ran. One of the dark holes shot out a huge pointed cone. The speed of the pointed cone was incredible. Although it was huge, it was so fast that even the people living in Alabasta did not find it. The sharp cone-shaped object came directly into the atmosphere. As if receiving a certain order, he flew straight in one direction and flew at extreme speed. There, exactly where Dover and Vivi are. Coming. Standing high in the sky, Dover's pupils shrank suddenly. He noticed that an indescribable object was quickly approaching him. Even with Dover's strength, he felt a great danger. Are you here? I didn't see it. Vivi doesn't have the tyrannical sight of Dover, how can he perceive movement thousands of miles away? But soon, Vivi didn't need to perceive. Because in her sapphire blue pupils, a black pointed object was already printed. Is this the shell that Mingming fired? It looks completely different from ordinary shells. Vivi asked curiously. Dover looked at the huge sharp cone-shaped object, and only looked at the appearance, it was almost indistinguishable from the intercontinental missile in Dover's impression. And the power of intercontinental missiles, even 4 Emperor's-level powerhouses, must be carefully weighed. Howl, ha ha ha. Dover laughed. It really didn't disappoint me, ancient weapon Pluton. He stroked Vivi's waist-length sky-blue hair and smiled deeply. This can't be called a cannonball, but a missile, the strongest missile. Missile. Vivi was thinking about the new word he heard for the first time. The black missile sent by Pluton drew a rounded arc above the sky. Then, he fell to the huge island at the feet of Dover, which is comparable to a large country. The island is an uninhabited desert island. There is only a large dense forest. This island is considered a land that has not been discovered by humans. But on this day, just outside the island, an ordinary ship arrived. Looking at the skull logo on the ship, it is clear that it is still a pirate ship. Ha 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 ha. Let lousy discover such a big island with no one. God has eyes. Take care of me, Krieg. The captain of this pirate ship is a fierce man in golden armor, who turned out to be Luffy and Krieg in the original book. Because the chaos in the world is getting worse, Krieg, who is also full of ambitions, did not wait any longer. He entered the Grand Line a few years earlier than in the original book. This time, although Krieg was not chased by Hawkeye, he was arrogant and quickly defeated in the increasingly tragic pirate campaign on the Grand Line. Krieg escaped from the Grand Line and returned to his hometown of East Blue. Unexpectedly, his hometown of East Blue was also occupied by Bellamy, the most prestigious pirate in East Blue. Krieg had no choice but to continue to flee. Unexpectedly, the sky is endless, and Krieg has encountered such a large island. With this island, and plunder enough population, Lousy can become the king of a country. Revenge the bastards of Bellamy. Revenge the bastards of the Grand Line. Krieg's eyes were full of madness, and he shouted. Little ones, go to the island. This island belongs to our Krieg pirate group from now on. Advertisement. Roar. The members of the Krieg pirates are in great spirits, and the happy ones are about to go to the island. But the action was blocked by the animals on the island that suddenly ran wildly. What's the matter? Are these animals crazy? Krieg was knocked down by a wild boar and yelled furiously. Captain, something is wrong. These animals are running away. They are afraid. Akin, the brainiest under Krieg, said suddenly. Afraid, humph. Krieg smiled and said, these foolish animals, aren't they afraid of Lousy? After all, Krieg ordered the cannon to kill the animals that were irrational. The trembling voice of the gunner came. Captain Krieg, there is something in the sky. Huh, did Lousy tell you to fire, but didn't you see it? Krieg was extremely annoyed, with a glare from the corner of his eye, high in the air, but he was suddenly stunned. What the hell is that? Krieg looked at the huge black object falling from the sky at a rapid speed, and his whole body was shocked. No, get on the boat and get out of here. Ajin felt an unprecedented panic in his heart. Without saying a word, he dragged the sluggish Krieg back to the boat. Go on, go on. Ajin roared desperately, but it was too late. The Pluton missile that fell from the sky was in the eyes of Akin's shocking children, in the eyes of Krieg and the Krieg pirate group petrified. It crashed on the island. Boom. The unspeakable terrorist explosion will explode in the next moment. A huge mushroom cloud rose to the sky. It is hard to describe the shock of this scene. All I knew was that everything was ruined in that explosion. Whether 4.6 is a forest or an animal, together with the land of that huge island, all are wiped out. The violent weather wave caused by the explosion arrived at the Krieg pirate ship almost in an instant. There was endless fear and despair in Ajin's pupils. Is this the end of the world? The Captain Krieg was finally awake at this time, but at the last second he thought. Lousy's island, Lousy's country. Immediately afterwards, the entire Krieg pirate group was swept in by the surge of air. The golden armor on Krieg's body was shattered without being able to hold on for a moment. The dream of revenge that he had just dreamed was completely reduced to a joke under this world-destroying missile. Above the sky, Dover naturally noticed the arrival of the Krieg pirates. However, a small person like Krieg, in his eyes, is no different from an ant. Dover stared only at the large island under his feet. When the smoke dissipated, there was nothing on the surface of the sea, as if the island just now didn't exist at all. The power of Pluton's one shot, terrifying, will completely destroy an island comparable to a large country. Dover's eyes were very deep, and he smiled evilly. Howl, isn't it just right for such a weapon to be used to destroy the world? Chapter 122 The Great Undersea Prison, Magellan and Shiryu. Advertisement. The power source of Pluton is similar to nuclear power. Now, with the dark energy of BB Dark Fruit, the power of Pluton is even more terrifying. Even if it doesn't move, it can destroy a country thousands of miles away. Dover is quite satisfied with the power of Pluton. This is a super killer, and its role is not just as simple as destroying an island. Dover's eyes were extremely deep and deep. When that day comes, when 108 Pluton missiles descend on Marine Headquarters, Marineford. Those people, how wonderful will the expressions on their faces show. The Great Undersea Prison, Impel Down, the world's largest prison, has the title of Bronze Wall and Iron Wall, and holds the most murderous criminals in the world. Not to mention the first 5 floors, only the criminals imprisoned in the 6th floor of eternal hell, everyone inside is enough to shake the world. Such as the Crescent Hunter, the Fruit of the Dog and the Dog the Phantom Beast species. Nine-Tails Fox Fruit Ability, Caitlin Butterfly Beauty. Like the San Juan Wolf who was bigger than the giants. Such as the Big Cask Basquetshot, the evil King Abalo Pizarro. These 4 people are all members of the 4 Emperors group that Blackbeard 11 brought out from the Great Undersea Prison in the original work. There are world-famous powerhouses such as World Destroyer, Burn-D World, etc. And there are a few more people who are unable to conquer even Blackbeard who eats the real dark fruit. One is the Lonely Red Earl, and Sengoku calls it Barloric Letterfield who can keep pace with Roger and Whitebeard alone. The other person, the crew of the original One Piece Roger, Heir to the Devil, Douglas Bullet, on par with Pluton Rayleigh. These terrifying existences, just their names, make the world tremble. And for these people, in history, only the legendary pirate, Golden Lion Shiki, successfully escaped from the prison Impel Down. It is conceivable how strong it is. In fact, the reason why Impel Down is called a prison that cannot be escaped is inseparable from two people. That is the warden of Impel Down, Magellan, the poisonous fruit ability. And the chief guard, Shiryu, the top master of Kendo. The two can be described as two insurmountable mountains that suppress Impel Down. In the original book, if it weren't for Shiryu's rebellion, Blackbeard's decades-long plan would probably fall under Magellan's poison. But now, outside of Impel Down, a guest came. Advertisement. This guest, however, asked Magellan and Shiryu to come out together to greet them. Your Excellency Virgo, it's been a long time since I saw you. Magellan laughed loudly to the tall man in a plain white coat standing on the warship. It was Virgo who came from Alabasta. Virgo jumped from the warship, shook hands with Magellan, and smiled humbly. Warden Magellan, I haven't seen you for a year, your style is better than ever. The two laughed. Magellan has a very good reputation in Marine, who saved a country more than a year ago and sent the serious criminal crocodile to Impel Down. Magellan suddenly turned her head and smiled at Virgo. Brother, recently in Marine, the voice for promoting you as an admiral candidate is very high. Wilgo's eyes flashed, and his expression became more humble, and he continued to say, don't dare to be, don't dare to be. The two walked into Impel Down together. Virgo glanced imperceptibly, Shiryu walking beside Magellan. The chief caretaker, whom the young master had taken care of, also investigated when Virgo came. He was notoriously brutal in Impel Down, and it is said that his relationship with Magellan was not very harmonious. This person is the purpose of Virgo. Regardless of the superficial harmony between Virgo and Magellan, Virgo knew in his heart that Magellan is a staunch supporter of the government and will definitely stand on the opposite side of the young master in the future. Therefore, to instigate Shiryu and deal with troublesome Magellan when that day comes, it is indispensable. When the group walked into the big prison and came to the elevator leading to the 6th floor of the Eternal Hell, Magellan suddenly clutched his stomach and smiled embarrassedly at Virgo. The old problem is committed again. Shiryu, come and accompany the Lord Virgo. After speaking, Magellan hurriedly clutched his stomach and ran away. Although the poisonous fruit gave Magellan strong and unmatched strength, it also made him often have a stomachache, and the time to move freely every day was not too much. Virgo and Shiryu walked into the elevator. When the metal door made a click and closed, the humble expression on Virgo's face disappeared. Shiryu wore a marine coat, dark purple robes, smoking a cigar, and a thunderstorm with a famous knife hanging around his waist. His fierce eyes revealed cruelty from time to time. In Impel Down, criminals fear Shiryu more than Magellan. Because what Shiryu likes most is to torture and kill criminals. The number of criminals who were accidentally killed by Shiryu was 90 if not 100. Advertisement. Ha ha ha. Shiryu's purple-black mouth with a cigar in his mouth suddenly bends, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he stared at Virgo. Sure enough, you are not such a simple person. Magellan, the naive fellow, was deceived by your surface, right? Virgo's expression remained unchanged, and said lightly. How you said that? Huh. Shiryu sneered, don't underestimate Lousy. Just now you peeked at Lousy, Lousy found it. Return. Shiryu's sneer became more gloomy, and with the unique cold atmosphere of Impel Grand Prison, it sounded more terrifying. Although your performance has almost no flaws, the cold blood and cruelty hidden in your bones, Lousy can't be more familiar. Shiryu himself is a cold-blooded and cruel person, so although he can't see Virgo's disguise, he can feel that Virgo is essentially the same kind of person as him. From the glance of Virgo and the indifferent expression of 720 after entering the elevator, Shiryu directly confirmed that he felt right. As expected, the young master asked to pay attention. Chief Warden Shiryu, you are really extraordinary. Virgo turned to Shiryu and said with a twist of his mouth. Seeing the appearance of the disguise being dismantled, Virgo also looked unhurried. Shiryu couldn't help frowning. Moreover, what happened to the young master who paid attention to him in the other party's mouth? Could it be that it wasn't that he dismantled Virgo, but that the other party had already attacked himself and deliberately exposed the flaws? Shiryu's heart burst. His right hand couldn't help touching the hilt of the sword. Yin Yin said. What do you mean by this? Besides, don't forget, Virgo, here is Impel Down. No matter how powerful you are, as long as I shout out, you will immediately fall into endless hell. Unexpectedly, the arc of Virgo's mouth expanded even more, and said. You wouldn't do that, Chief Warden Shiryu. Virgo's eyes revealed extremely pious gazes, and he said something that made Shiryu's body shocked. The world is undergoing unprecedented changes, and the old world will be completely destroyed. The person who creates the order of the new era is the supreme young master. Reign Shiryu, I know that you are also a very ambitious and unwilling to be lonely. Instead of being a running dog of Marine in Impel Down, it is better to submit to the young master and be a participant in creating a new era. How about? Chapter 123 The 6th Floor of Eternal Hell, Blackbeard's Plan. Advertisement. Shiryu frowned deeply. A man like Virgo who was close to Marine Admiral's strength was so pious and loyal to another person, which gave Shiryu a big shock. At the same time, the words in Virgo's words that create a new world order also made Shiryu's eyes shine. As Virgo said, Shiryu is a man of his own ambition. He was willing to spend his whole life in Impel Down, and he was always held down by Magellan. If given the opportunity, Shiryu will not hesitate to betray Marine and world government, leaving his mark in the turbulent era in the future. Just like in the original book, when he saw Blackbeard for the first time, he joined him decisively. And Blackbeard is also convinced that a man like Shiryu will definitely help him. But the prerequisite for Shiryu to rebel is to allow him to see enough possibilities, enough to disrupt the entire world. A few words from Virgo alone are far from enough. After all, Virgo is not Dover, and he does not have the kind of hockey that makes people unable to refute and reject the world. Boom. Shiryu spit out a puff of smoke, staring at Virgo slowly. Although I believe a man like you can't lie. But just a few words are not convincing enough. The world is still under the dominance of Marine and the world government. Even this Impel prison, Magellan is not a messy guy. The young master in your mouth should have some plans already. Otherwise, it would be impossible to make Lousy be loyal to him with just a few words. When Virgo heard the words, he was not angry but rather happy, and he admired the young master, even more so. As early as Alabasta, the young master asserted that as long as Shiryu reveals a little bit of information, he will definitely turn back. At this moment, what the young master said is really true. Wilgo smiled. Guardian Shiryu, the young master's plan cannot be fully told to you. But it can let you know a thing or two about how to destroy Impel Down. A look of surprise appeared in Shiryu's eyes. Impel Down is the world's largest prison, Marine and world government's important support for the threat of the world. If part of that person's plan was to destroy Impel Down, that would be earth-shattering enough. The elevator descends quickly. Soon, we reach the 6th floor, Eternal Hell. Shiryu and Virgo walked into the 6th floor, and they couldn't hide their surprise on their faces. Could it be that the mysterious young master, the dark hand that destroyed Impel Down, was placed on the 6th floor? This is really hard to imagine. After all, the criminals imprisoned on the 6th floor, even Shiryu, dare not neglect. Several of them, even Shiryu, were extremely jealous. Advertisement. The atmosphere of the 6th floor Eternal Hell is not as cruel, hot, cold, or hungry like the first 5 floors. This place is like an ordinary prison, with only a cold iron cage, and no other means of torture. Because even the world government that made it here knows that those so-called inhumane tortures have no meaning for the existence of the 6th layer. As soon as Shiryu and Virgo entered the 6th floor, in the darkness, they stared at them with ghost-like eyes. Hey, isn't this the chief caretaker, Lord Shiryu? Yo, there is also a little marine. What, are you going to give us an extra meal today? Gia. This ghost place, Lousy is so boring, let Lousy go out. In the cage, there was a fierce laughter, as terrible as a ghost. To shut up, Shiryu pulled out the thunderstorm, a brutal breath, proceeded from him. But the criminals on the 6th floor hadn't seen anything, and they were still yelling frantically. It wasn't until Shiryu slashed one of them on the neck that the shouting gradually ceased. Virgo's complexion remained the same, and the two went deeper and deeper, as if they were almost reaching the depths of eternal hell. Shiryu frowned and said, "Go down, those people I don't want to provoke. Are you sure that your young master, the dark hand left behind, is one of those people?" Shiryu couldn't help but wonder. The people imprisoned in the depths of eternal hell are all maddening guys. The mysterious young master in Virgo's mouth can really conquer one of them and use it for him, and even willingly lurk in a hell cage like Impel Down. But soon after, when Shiryu saw Virgo walking towards the man who was sent to the big prison by himself a year ago, the crocodile-like ferocious man, Shiryu was taken aback for a moment, and there was no more doubt. Hey. It is actually the sand crocodile of the original 7 Warlords of the Sea, the mysterious young master. Your handwriting is really unexpected. Alabasta. Dover was experimenting with Pluton's power, and it didn't take long before he received news from Blackbeard. After killing Sachi and escaping from Whitebeard's territory, Blackbeard fled to the front half of the Grand Line, near East Blue. His people thought that from now on, the sea and the sky were broad and the world was allowed to gallop, but he didn't know that his every move fell in Dover's eyes. Hearing that Blackbeard had arrived at Gaia Island at this moment, and, as Dover did not expect, the Kid Ace had chased Gaia Island. The corner of Dover's mouth was hooked, and there was a flash of playful color in Xie Sui's pupils. The prelude to the new era is about to begin. How can you not witness such an interesting opening? What? The girl lying weakly on Dover, wearing only a thin shirt, raised her big sapphire eyes and looked at the man's face that made her more and more addicted. Advertisement. The girl's eyebrows are like willow silk, her muscles are like baishui, her waist is like a string, and her mouth is like a shellfish. During the lazy questioning, let alone the unique flattery of a young girl. Dover smiled deeply, put his arms around Vivi's slender waist, and stood up. The two of them put on their clothes, and under Dover's footsteps, they disappeared into Alabasta, the most magnificent palace. Gaia Island. A bar. Blackbeard Teach was sitting there, eating and drinking wildly. Excitement he has never had before. Finally ate dark fruit and gained the unique dark power in the world. The plan that has been brewing for decades can finally be implemented. From then on, the era of the old father Whitebeard will pass, and the era of his Blackbeard Teach will follow. Thief ha. Blackbeard gushed a bowl of wine, opened his teethless mouth, and laughed wildly. Human ambitions will never disappear. Chasing seemingly unattainable dreams is the most interesting thing. Thief ha. The others in the bar looked at Blackbeard inexplicably. Crazy. This man should be a lunatic. Even a madman who dares to make trouble in Master Bellamy's place, Zhao Lahao, will not eat kabuto and leave. The ridiculous ridicule of the people around did not change Blackbeard's expression at all. Ha. Captain, you are being laughed at. Do you want to kill them all? Beside Blackbeard, Giza's badges, the extremely strong champion, smiled arrogantly. When he opened his mouth, he was actually going to kill everyone in the tavern. There were still a few people around Badgers. They are Otokoshi Fan, Oka, Ghost Security Officer Lafayette, and Shinigami Poison Q. They were all subordinates that Blackbeard had found long ago, and as soon as Blackbeard defected, he immediately followed Blackbeard. Do not. Faced with Badgers' proposal, Blackbeard said. You can't get Marine's attention for these ignorant people. Blackbeard stood up abruptly, looking crazy and awkward. If you want to fight, you should find someone who has weight. Didn't it mean that this is the place of that guy named Bellamy? Thief, haha. I heard that he is the big pirate of East Blue. Go find him. Think of him a gift to the government. Chapter 124 Destined to be Delusional Blackbeard, Shiryu's Submission. Advertisement. Bellamy did a good job at East Blue. The prestige is growing, and the site is expanding very quickly. It has become a big pirate with a bounty of more than 100 million yuan, and it is the hegemon of East Blue. But because of the corruption of money and the coercion, many generals in Marine have been lured. So far, Marine has not bothered him. And following Dover's orders, Bellamy has also lost a lot of arrogance in recent years, and has accumulated a paradise in Arlong Paradise. Just waiting for the day when the sun and the moon changed, and attacked brazenly, for the Supreme Lord Dover, to win East Blue in one fell swoop. As for the Gaia Island in the first half of the Grand Line, Bellamy was included in the bag more than a year ago and became the Tangahid family's sphere of influence. Blackbeard Teach didn't know this. As he walked out of the bar with his little brother, he smiled and said. If the bounty is over 100 million pirates' heads, exchange the Shichibukai to the government, isn't it too much? Ha ha ha, Captain, you are really joking. But the guy named Bellamy, let me solve it. Badges chuckled. Blackbeard's eyes flashed crazily, and the plan he had endured for decades could finally be implemented, which made him excited. Catch Bellamy, the East Blue pirate, and become Shichibukai. Next, use Shichibukai's identity to lure Daddy Whitebeard and Marine into a war. In the midst of the chaos, enter the great undersea prison Impel Down, completely release 723 the vicious criminals inside, and conquer the strongest inside and become your own subordinates. Then, Father Whitebeard's body is getting worse and worse, even if he is not killed by Marine, he can't last long, right? At that time, his Blackbeard Teach can use the Dark Fruit ability to capture the shock fruit of the Father Whitebeard and become an unprecedented double fruit ability. The secret that neutralizes the abilities of all capable people with one hand, the shock that destroys the world with the other hand. Just thinking about it made Blackbeard tremble with excitement. If everything develops as in the original book, and Blackbeard's plan will go smoother than he imagined. He not only messed up Impel Down and won the power of shock fruit, but he also became the new 4 emperors who inherited the Whitebeard site. However, it is a pity that the premise of all this is that Blackbeard has not been placed on the endless sky, with a pair of indifferent eyes like a god looking down on an ant. That person is so ugly. Vivi hugged a man's solid arms, beautiful eyebrows, and a girl's unique, charming and lazy air just getting up. She looked at Blackbeard and the group of people below with big eyes, pursed her little beg mouth, and said in disgust. Advertisement. It's like an inferior product that is incompletely manufactured. Immediately, I realized that these words were too unfair, and Vivi spit out his tongue cutely. Dover smiled lightly. Vivi ate the real dark fruit, while Blackbeard Teach ate only a scallop, not even 1/10 the effect of the real product. In contrast, it is really just a shoddy product. Dover was also watching the actions of Blackbeard alone, but soon his eyes were on another thin figure. The figure looks young, although the physique is thin, but very strong and vigorous in action. There is also a unique logo of the Whitebeard pirates on his back. It is Ace who chased Blackbeard. When he saw Ace stopping Blackbeard and his group in a wide open space, Dover sniffed the fresh body scent of the girl beside him and the warmth of the girl on his arm. His eyes were extremely deep and said. The chapter that opened the prelude to the new era has been opened. Xiao xiao xiao, the future is really more and more worth looking forward to. Impel Grand Prison. The 6th floor, Eternal Hell. Crocodile, the sand crocodile who has been imprisoned here for nearly 2 years, unexpectedly watched Virgo and Shiryu, the great warden of Impel Down, walking towards him. A marine vice admiral, and a prison guard, what is it for lousy? The sand crocodile gave a sneer and said with a sneer. Lord Crocodile. Virgo bowed slightly to the sand crocodile and said. Master young master asked me to tell you that the prelude of the new era is about to begin. Please be fully prepared. Crocodile's pupils suddenly widened, and the sneer on his lips gradually expanded into the long-awaited smile full of ambition and bloodthirsty. Ha 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 ha, is that guy finally going to act? Lousy can't wait any longer. So, Crocodile's eyes turned to Shiryu beside Virgo. What's the matter with this guy? Know my secret, do you want to kill him? Crocodile's initial sneer and questioning were naturally because he didn't know Shiryu's position and said deliberately. Virgo's eyes also turned to Shiryu, and his right hand was faintly pinched into the shape of a ghost claw, covered with strands of cold ghost fire. Advertisement. Virgo said calmly. Guardian Shiryu, you already know the secret of Master Young Master. Whether you choose to be loyal to Master Young Master from now on, or continue to be Marine's running dog, you must make a decision. Shiryu was dangling a cigar, and the sparks on the cigar appeared scarlet in the dark eternal hell. Shiryu looked at Crocodile who was approaching. The seastone handcuffs that trapped him must be just decorations. He looked at the ghost fire on Virgo's right paw again, which made him feel palpitations, and he smiled. If I choose to refuse, I am afraid I won't be able to get out of this 6th floor today. Wilgo's face remained unchanged. Young master believes that Warden Shiryu is a wise man. Good birds choose trees to roost. You don't need to continue to follow Marine, the big ship that is about to capsize. Ha 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 ha. Shiryu Jie Ran laughed and looked at Virgo and Crocodile deeply. Your young master really knows Lousy enough. Well, Lousy will join you. This boring world, Lousy has long been bored. Virgo finally showed a smile on his face, saying, welcome to join young master's command. With your help, this great underwater prison impel down, presumably will disappear from the world completely soon. Humph. Shiryu sneered. That's not an easy task. Although I can help you deal with Magellan, if the Marine headquarters also intervenes, we can only escape from impel down at best. This matter, you can rest assured, Marine will never spare any effort to control impel down. Virgo said affirmatively. Shiryu's eyes flashed. Virgo is so sure, it seems that the mysterious young master must have a big earth-shattering plan that can make the entire Marine headquarters overwhelmed. Then Lousy will wait and see. The two are having a conversation. From the depths of eternal hell, suddenly there were a few cold, smirking voices. Gia 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 Gia. Hey, the two people outside, are you going to deal with Marine and world government? GG, Addis by the way. Our strength is not weaker than the sand crocodile by half a point. Chapter 125 Inferior Dark Fruit, Besieged Ace. 3 more seeking subscription. Advertisement. Katrine, Diome, Abalo Pizarro, you bastards, what did you just say? Crocodile stared fiercely at the people in the depths of eternal hell who had just spoken. Those people are the subordinates recruited by Blackbeard in the original work. GG, Sand Crocodile, don't be so stingy. Pizarro, the evil king, smiled and said. With our help, your plan can be carried out more smoothly. Humph. Crocodile sneered disdainfully. You rubbish, you are not qualified to be with Lousy. What's more, you just want to escape from impel down, right? After Crocodile said in his heart, the evil king and the most evil female pirate Caitlin Diame, smiled embarrassingly. The huge battleship San Juan laughed said. It seems that people don't believe us, so there is no way myself. At this time, Shiryu said, if you really want to contend with Marine and the world government, you can't have too many powerful people. Although these people are cruel and secretive, they are really powerful. Your mysterious young master, if you can let them surrender willingly. If it is the best. With that said, Shiryu felt that it was unlikely. After all, the evil king and others, themselves are extremely ambitious top powerhouses, how can they easily surrender to the so-called young master who has never seen him? It was the same with Shiryu himself. He agreed to join Virgo's gang, only based on the strength of Virgo and Crocodile, plus the boring place of impel down that was already impatient. If Shiryu were truly loyal to Dover from then on, it would be impossible. Virgo knew this too, but he didn't care. Virgo had no doubts that when Shiryu met the young master, the latter would never have the courage to raise any rebellious thoughts. Including the others in eternal hell, in front of the young master's hockey, who is like a 9-day god, what counts? Gaia Island. Blackbeard didn't know that the crew he wanted to subdue had already begun to surrender to others. Blackbeard was in trouble at the moment. He sneered darkly, staring at the strong young man who stopped him. Captain Ace, I didn't expect that I escaped here, but you found them all. The youth is Ace. Teach. An extremely angry, almost gritted voice came from Ace's mouth. Ace clenched his fist tightly. UB***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** you have? Enmity. Blackbeard laughed. No, not at all. On the contrary, Sachi and I used to be brothers. Advertisement. But, Blackbeard's eyes cast a sullen look, and a hint of fanatical color passed. There are so many weird things, I only blame Saki one step ahead of me and find such a thing. So I am also very helpless. The fact that Saki must be killed makes me very sad, Captain Ace. Shut up. Teach's indifferent tone made Ace instantly angry to the point where it could not be added. Just to kill a dead thing like that, you kill Sachi, Teach, you be asterisk 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 D, it makes me so angry that I don't know what to say. Thief ha 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 ha, Captain Ace, you are so wrong about that. Blackbeard laughed wildly. That's the only dark fruit in the world, how can it be evaluated by a mere dead thing? Blackbeard raised his right hand, and the black breath gradually came to his fist. Did you see it? This is the power of dark fruit, powerful enough to shock the world, Captain Ace. Teach, you are still really hopeless. Forget it, since you are so superstitious about the so-called power, let me test how much your strength has grown. The next moment, Ace threw away his baggage, slammed his feet on the ground, and rushed towards the Blackbeard group. Blackbeard gave a grinning grin, and opened his black fingers. Dark water. The same pitch black fists as Ace collided. Soon, Blackbeard's face changed. Suddenly, Ace was not a capable person, but the means to neutralize his abilities didn't work for him. Is this the so-called dark power of dark fruit? It's nothing more than that. Ace yelled coldly, and the fist covered in armed color poured out with a huge force. Not good. Blackbeard was shocked. He had never played against Ace before, thinking that he was just a hairy boy at best, and he couldn't be so powerful. Unexpectedly, his armament hockey had actually cultivated to this level. Blackbeard was taken carelessly, his body was directly blown out by that strong force, and he flew out dozens of meters before stopping. Cough cough. Blackbeard wiped away the blood from the corners of his mouth, looked at Ace coldly, and said with a smile. So strong hockey and strength, you deserve to be Captain Ace, I underestimated you. Captain, it's too embarrassing, I was beaten up by the opponent as soon as I came up. Would you like us to help? Badgers and others watched the battle, and said with a smile. ... For flowers. Advertisement. Look at it first, the true power of dark fruit, Lousy hasn't used it yet. Blackbeard pressed his hands to the ground, and the endless dark color spread from his hands to the surrounding ground. The secret point. Like the black water of hell, it swallowed everything in. Ace frowned. Dark fruit was indeed a bit weird. But at this speed, trying to catch him is just wishful thinking. Ace launched observation hockey and jumped directly to the area that Blackbeard's dark acupuncture path could not cover, and then slammed his fist and attacked Blackbeard again. Above the sky, Vivi was surprised at first that the ugly fellow Blackbeard could even use the power of darkness. But then, the corners of her blushing lips formed an arc of disapproval. The dark power that man used is so weak. Compared to Vivi, which can permeate the dark atmosphere of the whole hull in an instant, the dark acupuncture path used by Blackbeard is undoubtedly as slow as a snail. And Vivi can still feel that the darkness released by Blackbeard is also quite inferior. If the darkness of Vivi is the highest level of darkness, then what Blackbeard uses at this time is the low level of darkness. Vivi can guarantee that he has only a small hand stretched out, he will absorb the darkness of the opponent and counterattack the opponent. Dover is not an accident. Of course, the difference between the counterfeit dark fruit and the real dark fruit cannot be justified. Looking at the battle below, Blackbeard obviously did not expect that his dark fruit is so weak, or is Ace too strong. Just a moment after the confrontation, Blackbeard was hit by Ace several punches, so that his body, which was extremely sensitive to pain, screamed. Hole. Blackbeard rolled again tens of meters, with bloodline on his head. He stared at Ace on the opposite side, and the next moment, Blackbeard Teach showed a fierce expression on his face. Little ones, go together and kill this guy. Ha 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 ha. Captain, if you need us to talk early. Your dark fruit, it seems that it will take some time to develop. Captain of the Whitebeard 2nd Division, interesting. Catch him and give it to Marine as a meeting gift, so you don't have to go to that Bellamy. Immediately, the Blackbeard pirates swarmed up and headed towards Ace to besiege. Too despicable. At high altitude, Vivi was a bit aggrieved. Dover had anticipated this scene a long time ago. With Blackbeard's character, once you find that dark fruit is not enough, you won't worry about winning with more than less. Individual. Chapter 126 Redhead's Conversation with Whitebeard, Vivi with Sharp Teeth. Advertisement. New World. When the red-haired Shanks heard that Blackbeard Teach had defected and Ace was chasing him by himself, he couldn't help feeling very anxious. He sent someone to see Whitebeard, but he closed the door. So, Red Hair had to come to the door in person to meet Whitebeard. As soon as he boarded the mobile, Conqueror's Hockey, which claims to be the only one in the world that can cause physical damage, gave everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates a predicament. Goo la 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 la. Red-haired kid, are you in front of Lousy, are you demonstrating? Whitebeard leaned on the large seat, his eyes drooping, watching the man walking towards him step by step and finally sitting in front of him. Years ago, this man was just a humble intern on Roger's ship. Unexpectedly, it has now become the new world, the hot new 4 emperors. Even if it's him, Whitebeard, he can't just take it lightly. No, how can you dare to be presumptuous in front of you? 723. The red hair chuckled. After all, you are an old senior at the same time as Captain Roger, and you are just a junior underneath. When Whitebeard heard the words, his eyes condensed, and then he laughed bravely. Red-haired kid, are you saying that the old man is old? The atmosphere on both sides suddenly became a little tense. Redhead then took out a large jug of wine. This is a specialty wine from my hometown, but New World doesn't have it. With that, he poured a bowl for Whitebeard. After the two made a bowl, Redhair finally expressed his intention. I heard that Ace went after Teach Guy. The red-haired voice became deeper, and he reached out and touched the 3 long and narrow scars on his left eye. This scar is left by Teach. Even if I think about it now, I still feel a palpitation. In the next moment, Redhair looked at the world's strongest man in front of him with an unprecedented solemn look, but he could not hide his aging man, and said solemnly. You know, that guy Teach is not that simple. He is hidden on your ship, he is not the captain, nor is he famous, waiting for the opportunity, and one day, he will come to take your throne, Whitebeard. The sound was like thunder, making the entire Moby DK silent in an instant. Whitebeard's eyes seemed to change for an instant, but it quickly returned to its original state. Whitebeard and the red hair stared at each other. Advertisement. The air seems to have frozen. Above the sky was still clear, but I don't know when, but it was already covered with dark clouds. So, what do you want me to do, redhead kid? Whitebeard uttered aloud. No joy or anger was heard. Stop Ace, call him back. The red hair said firmly. Ha 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 ha. Whitebeard listened, but suddenly burst into laughter. When the laughter stopped, Whitebeard said. Teach committed an unforgivable crime on board. Teach him, but my father must do it. The red hair was silent. In fact, he knew before he came that he didn't persuade Whitebeard that much, but the redhead still had to try it. Because, this incident is not only due to Blackbeard Teach, but also a factor that makes red hair more worried and even extremely disturbed, hidden in it. Whitebeard, it's actually not just for helping Teach. The red-haired voice suddenly became extremely low. You should be aware that the chaos in the world is getting worse, and the times are experiencing an unprecedented riot. The red hair thought of the name Hawkeye had mentioned to him that day, and thought of Beckman and his speculation. The red hair suddenly clenched his fists, and said in a deep voice. To be honest, I suspect that there is a pair of invisible hands in all of this, pushing. Whether it is the chaos of the world or the matter of Ace and Teach, they are inseparable from those invisible hands. Quote. This statement came out. Even Whitebeard was shocked. Redhead, is there any basis for what you said? Whitebeard asked, narrowing his eyes. No. The red hair shook his head helplessly. These are my guesses, but Whitebeard, even if my guesses are only possible, you can't let Ace take the risk. It's not your style to say such unfounded words. Whitebeard was back to his original state. Obviously, he didn't take the redhead speculation to heart. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard's eyes opened and closed. Although his body was old and still contracted with illness, the spirit of the world's strongest man on his body did not decrease by half. Red-haired kid, you want to point fingers at me, it's 100 years too early. At this point, Redhead knew that there was no room for recovery, and Whitebeard seemed to refuse to follow his advice. Advertisement. The red hair stood up silently, he drew his sword out of its sheath and stared at Whitebeard in front of him. Things will become unstoppable. What the times will become, even you and I cannot control it. Whitebeard, do you understand? Goo la la la. Gu la 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 la. Whitebeard looked up to the sky and laughed, an aura that only dominated an era, an extremely strong man, rising from him. What if you understand? What if you don't understand? Whole red-haired kid, you are still too young. In such an era, it is not worth fearing at all. Whitebeard pulled out behind him, and Kong Yunchi, one of the supreme big knives, shouted words that would awe the world. Lousy, but Whitebeard. In the next second, Whitebeard's cloud cut, and the red-haired western sword collided. In an instant, the situation changed color. The sky where the dark clouds gathered seemed to split apart from the middle. When Red Hair and Whitebeard were in an earth-shattering duel, Ace's situation was already extremely bad. Under the siege of the Blackbeard pirates, even if Ace is not weak, it will inevitably be dangerous. None of Blackbeard's subordinates are weak. Blackbeard himself is even more sinister and old. Aside from dark fruit, his strength can also leave a scar on Red Hair. Above the sky, Dover stood with his hand in hand. Everything was in his expectation. In front of Blackbeard, who used everything, Ace was still too young and vigorous, and it was only a matter of time before he lost. So many people hit one, it's shameless. Vivi's little face was a little upset. Maybe Blackbeard ate the inferior version of dark fruit, which caused Vivi to eat the real dark fruit in 4.6. Subconsciously, he was extremely repulsive to the former. Shameless, just for the loser. Such an evaluation has no meaning for the winner. Dover said lightly. Vivi was startled. The beautiful eyes of the girl, obsessively looking at the man's indifferent and deep face. Brother Dover can always say such things that are incomprehensible but very reasonable. Vivi's sapphire blue eyes rolled, and immediately smiled with a hint of sly. That person didn't make a mistake just now. That guy has always been in the hands of Brother Dover. Isn't he an eternal loser? Dover couldn't help laughing. Vivi, the little girl, has become his woman since he ate dark fruit. But to a certain extent, this is also the performance that Vivi has grown up and can be on its own. Chapter 127 Redhead Hunch, Sengoku's Deal with Blackbeard. Advertisement. Redhead and Whitebeard just got a shot. The sky and the earth faded, and the sky seemed to crack in the middle. The strength of the four emperors is so powerful, you can see Madara. But the red hair still failed to achieve his goal after all, he sighed and left the Whitebeard pirates. It seems that Whitebeard hasn't agreed. Beckman came behind the redhead Shanks. The red hair did not respond. He looked up at the gloomy sky, as if it were in this era, which made him feel more and more elusive. Beckman took a deep sip of his cigar and said, Red Hair, we also have to prepare as soon as possible, an unprecedented chaos is coming. The red hair was silent. For a long time, he seemed to have made some determination, and said in a deep voice. The news of Ace is closely watched, especially the news from Marine. The red hair has a hunch that the unprecedented huge chaos will be set off from Marine. And Captain Roger's son Ace, I am afraid that by that time, the hidden hands behind him and the ambitious generations will be used as pawns to start chaos. Gaia Island. There is nothing wrong with the redhead hunch. Under the siege of the Blackbeard pirates, Ace was defeated after all. Blackbeard was sitting on Ace's fainted body, with a large mouth with missing teeth, and the bloodline that was broken by Ace when he was fighting 11 years ago on his forehead. Thief ha 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 ha. Worthy of Captain Ace, it really cost us a lot of work. If you continue to grow, you might really become the next daddy. Thief ha ha, but your future ends here. Blackbeard's eyes flashed treacherously, and said to Lafayette, the navigator in the crew. Lafayette, I will bother you to go to the Marine headquarters and tell Marine that Lousy is going to exchange the Whitebeard Pirates 2nd Division Captain Ace for a Shichibukai position. Understood, Captain. Lafayette wore a pointed black hat, holding a black umbrella stick, and smiled. Marine will never refuse such a perfect deal. Lafayette set off immediately. He has the ability to make it difficult for ordinary people to detect his whereabouts, so he easily entered the Marine headquarters, Marineford. Today's Marineford, the atmosphere is even more depressing. Just to suppress the repeated rebellions around the world every day, Marine will consume a large amount of force, and the manpower, material resources and money spent are even more difficult to count. Advertisement. The Marshal's office, Sengoku, known as the Resourceful General, has been frowning every day for the past year. The chaotic situation in the world can be described as one wave after another, which made him feel devastated. More than that, Celestial Dragons is still messing up with him right now, and it actually doubled the gold in the sky. Sengoku, who heard the news at the time, almost couldn't help but jump. His old friend Garp almost turned his face against him. Sengoku's face was pale, and finally went to talk to 5 elders. 5 elders finally gave it back to him, made countless contributions to the world government, and served as Marshal Marine for decades, and agreed not to let Celestial Dragons continue to mess around. But 5 elders also gave Sengoku a dead order, which is 1. Look for all existences related to the king. This is actually a message from the Supreme Lord Yimu to 5 elders that day. Sengoku frowned and took the order, but how to do this is a headache for him. Wong, the coverage of this word is too big. After all, there are kings in every country. If these kings are really captured, it is better to let Celestial Dragons continue to mess around. Therefore, Sengoku did not think about the kings of the country at all. It was too unrealistic. In addition to the king, there are also existences that are related to the king and can make 5 elders extremely nervous. There are only Pluton, Poseidon, Uranus, the 3 ancient weapons. And, One Piece, Gore D. Roger. The 3 ancient weapons are legendary things. Whether they exist or not is still uncertain. Sengoku, where can I find ancient weapon for a while? Therefore, Sengoku's gaze can only be placed on the last point, One Piece King Gear, D. Roger. Roger has been dead for almost 20 years, but the words he said before his execution still affect the world. The world's situation has developed to such a degree, and Roger is inseparable from it. Now, Sengoku sat in the marshal's office, frowning in thought. He lowered his head and looked at a bounty order on the table. The amount of bounty on it had reached 500 million. Look at the young portrait with a bright smile on the reward order, it is actually Ace. Ace, the son of Roger, the pirate king, I noticed him when he just showed his name in the sea. Sengoku's eyes were low. I wanted to invite him to be Shichibukai, and took the opportunity to catch him, but he ran to Whitebeard's boat and became the captain. Ace got on Whitebeard's boat, making Sengoku who wanted to catch Ace no longer dare to act rashly. Advertisement. But now, Sengoku, who has accepted the order of 5 elders, has to act. Just, do you want to go to a complete war with the Whitebeard pirates? Sengoku seemed very hesitant and scrupulous. Whitebeard, the man with the power to destroy the world, is not that easy to deal with. Sengoku quickly rejected the idea of Marine taking the initiative to attack the Whitebeard territory. After all, even if Marine can win, it must be a miserable victory, not the result Sengoku wants. The best way is to induce Ace to leave Whitebeard's boat. Sengoku was thinking about how to separate Ace from Whitebeard, when he raised his eyebrows, looked out the window, and said coldly. Who is hiding there? Hip-hop, I've been spotted, you really deserve to be the man standing at the top of Marine. Outside the window, a black shadow flashed, revealing a figure, 727 as Blackbeard's navigator Lafayette. Who are you? Sengoku looked at the visitor with a calm face. Like Blackbeard for decades, the subordinates he recruited were not well known before. Under the Blackbeard pirates, so is Lafayette. Lafayette made a circle on the window, glanced at Ace's reward order on the Sengoku table, and smiled. The purpose of my coming here is to solve an annoying matter for you, the marshal. At the same time, to ask our captain for a Shichibukai appointment letter. Blackbeard pirates, Lafayette, Shichibukai. This series of messages made Sengoku frown even deeper. It seems that someone is eyeing Shichibukai's position that was vacated after Crocodile stepped down. The Shichibukai quota has been vacant because there is no suitable candidate. But, what is the origin of the Blackbeard pirate group? What are they going to use to exchange Shichibukai's position? Sengoku faintly felt that it was not easy. When Lafayette said the terms of the exchange, Sengoku's eyes suddenly widened. No one knew about this transaction in the marshal's office except Sengoku. Only know the next day. Marine Marshal Sengoku suddenly informed all Marine that they would publicly execute Whitebeard Pirates 2nd Division Captain Ace. As soon as the news came out, the whole world was shaken. Chapter 128 Ace Execution, the reaction of all parties, 3 more seeking subscription. Advertisement. The news that Ace was about to be executed publicly spread all over the world in an instant. The captain of the 2nd team of the Whitebeard Pirates is the Ace who made his reputation on the Grand Line more than a year ago, right? It's unbelievable, so young will be killed by Marine. Huh, who made him a pirate? Marine is justified in killing a pirate. But don't forget that there is Whitebeard. It is said that Whitebeard is very short-handed. It is estimated that war will break out between the two sides. The world is going to be chaotic again. Ordinary people like us should find a strong backer earlier, it's true. People talked a lot. Some people feel sorry for Ace. Some people worry that the Whitebeard pirates will be involved in a war with Marine. Others are indifferent. But no matter what, when the news spread across the sea, everyone knew that the contradiction between Marine and 4 emperors was completely public. East Blue. Windmill Village of Goa Kingdom. Garp almost broke with Sengoku because of Celestial Dragon's more and more greedy heavenly gold incident, and didn't care much about Marine anymore. He had nothing to teach his grandson Luffy to practice at home, as if he was a retired old man. However, although Garp seems to be indifferent to everything, in fact, he has been following the news of the world. The chaos of the world, the cruelty of Celestial Dragons, and the suffering of the people, how can Garp really feel relieved? And this day, forest in Kinderdeck. As usual, Garp lay on the armchair while drinking tea leisurely. Luffy was not far away, rubber rubber, yelling like a monkey. Garp looked at Luffy and suddenly thought of his other grandson. Ace, that B asterisk 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 D, secretly ran out without telling the old man and went as a pirate. Damn it. Thinking of Ace, Garp is out of anger. When Ace asked him to teach cultivation practice, Garp really thought that Ace had become enlightened and wanted to be a powerful seaman. But I didn't want to. That B asterisk 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 D actually lied to him and ran to be a pirate, and in a short time he made a big name. Garp gritted his teeth while offering a reward for Ace, but he was inevitably relieved in his heart. That B asterisk 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 D, it's a bit of Rogers back then. When Ace joined the Whitebeard pirates and was sheltered by Whitebeard, Garp was basically relieved. Garp knows the origins of Whitebeard, and Roger, the strongest man in the world, will definitely not treat Ace badly. Garp thought, took a sip of tea, picked up the newspaper next to him, and glanced at it. The next moment, Garp spouted a sip of tea, and his eyes were about to bulge out. In the newspaper, the big words, Ace execution, were printed in Garp's pupils. Grandpa, what's wrong? What's wrong? Has something happened? On the tree, Luffy, who was practicing, looked over curiously. Garp was startled, and quickly shredded the newspaper, put it in his pocket, and smiled. It's okay. Grandpa has something to do. You have to go back to the Marine headquarters, Luffy, you can practice hard at home, and you must not run around. Huh, I know, Grandpa smelly. Advertisement. Luffy grimaced. Garp saw him, but his nose was sore that he almost shed tears. If you let Luffy know that Ace is about to be executed by Marine, you will never see such a cute smile. Garp turned around. The original tall and mighty back figure seemed a little rickety at this time. Upon closer inspection, you will find that his hands in his pockets are still trembling slightly. Grand Line, White Earth Island, Baldigo. Here is the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. Ace. At this moment, in the Revolutionary Army's discussion hall, there was a cry that was shocked to ultimate. What happened? Did an enemy invade? The cadres of the Revolutionary Army rushed into the conference hall. It was surprising to find that the Chief of Staff Sabo, who was known for his calmness and intelligence and was trained by the leader Long as the second-generation successor, was actually holding the newspaper with his hands, and his eyes were almost bloodshot. Sabo, what's the matter with you? Koala in the green clothes stepped forward and asked worriedly. She looked at the newspaper that Sabo was staring at. It was the news that Ace, the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, was about to be executed by Marine. Ace, is that Sabo's brother? Koala suddenly understood the reason for Sabo's abnormality. As early as more than a year ago, when Ace's name was first passed to the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo at that time awakened his memory and recognized Ace. The core figure in the Revolutionary Army also knew that Ace, who had made a big name in the Grand Line, had a very close relationship with his chief of staff. As a result, everyone was even more worried, for fear that Sabo would lose his composure and do something irrational. In the worried eyes of Koala and other Revolutionary Army cadres, for a long time, Sabo took a deep breath. Turning around, his eyes are extremely firm, and he walks out. I'm going to see Mr. Long. Along with the spread of the news that Ace was about to be executed, a secret order forced by the government was sent to all 7 warlords of the sea. The content of the secret order is that all 7 warlords of the sea must go to Marineford on the day of Ace's execution. If you don't agree, you will be deprived of the name Shichibukai. Calm Belt, Amazon Lily Island, Daughter Country. When Boa Hancock received this secret order with her face cold and arrogant and unattainable like an iceberg, she just glanced at her beautiful eyes, threw it into the sea and fed Sea Kings. Marine Vice Admiral, who had come to deliver the letter, said with a green face. Boya Hancock, do you know the consequences of doing this? Hancock glanced at the flying squirrel indifferently, and his cold gaze from above, like a supreme queen, looking down on mortals. Yumo's face changed, and he couldn't help but jumped up, his heart was shocked. This pirate empress is getting more and more terrifying. Behind the empress, Marigold and Sandersonia, the 2 younger sisters of the empress, looked at the back of her sister with admiration. Ever since I met the terrifying man named Doflamingo in New World and captured the Celestial Dragons incident, the empress became more and more cold and untouchable. Even if they are relatives, they dare not enter and leave the palace of the empress at will, and the palace is a forbidden place that no one can approach. While the empress became even colder, the haki on her body was actually increasing day by day, reaching the point where both Mary Groud and Sandersonia found it incredible. Sister Sama's haki is getting more and more shocking. Advertisement. Yes, even Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral is scared. Haha, after all, my sister, but she works hard in her room every day to cultivate. Marigold and Sandersonia thought that the empress was in the bedroom all day long and was working hard to practice. Fu. In the void, a breeze suddenly rose. The female emperor's 2 white and tender jade hands, and her black and beautiful buttocked hair swayed back, a beauty that was almost impossible to look at directly. So beautiful, too, so beautiful, it's so beautiful that I can't open my eyes. Such an immortal, is it bad to even look at it? The seamen on the opposite marine warship, their eyes all turned into red hearts, and even the light of the empress could not open their eyes. Yumo's face was even more ashen to the extreme, but when he glanced at the pirate empress opposite, his heart suddenly bulged. The beauty of ultimate, even the pain of inserting a sword into the sole of his foot, couldn't be concealed. Yumo lowered his head almost subconsciously, not daring to look at the empress again. Hancock contemptuously warned the Marines on the opposite side, and the corners of his lips were very touching, with sarcasm. A bunch of stinky men. Then, Hancock directly turned and left, leaving only the intoxicating fragrance lingering in place, and the beautiful sound that seemed to be crooked and phoenix that made everyone surprised, slowly came. The concubine knows about this. Go back and tell your marshal that the concubine will be there by herself that day. Immediately, Hancock's figure disappeared from everyone's sight. Quote question mark question mark question mark. Quote. Everyone, including the Empress's sisters Marigold and Sandersonia, is also full of question marks. Sister Sama, actually agreed. Yumo is also extremely unbelievable. Seeing the posture of the Empress just now, he is ready to stay here for 10.5 days. Wan Zhao Jiao didn't expect that the other party actually agreed. While Yumo was shocked and puzzled, he also breathed a sigh of relief. If the other party didn't agree, with the amazing hockey of the Pirate Empress and the beauty that made him dare not look directly at it, the mouse actually had no way at all, and even the other party could kill his party at any time. However, what Yushu, Marigold, Sandersonia and others would never think of was that after the Empress disappeared, she returned to her bedroom in a blink of an eye. When the door of the bedroom was closed tightly, the cold expression of the Empress, which was originally unattainable, turned out to be Jay Ranthaw, and there was a girlish shyness. Hancock's beautiful eyes were almost obsessed, looking at the portraits of men on the wall, the porcelain white jade hands holding his braised pretty face. Shichibukai compulsory summoning order, then he will definitely go, right? At the same time, the owner of the wall portrait, in Dressrosa, also received a mandatory summoning order from Marine. Buddha Xiaohei. Dover let out an unexplained low laugh, and stood up under the gaze of Monet and other women who surrounded him. His deep and secluded gaze seemed to have passed through time and saw the unprecedented battle that was destined to happen. It's finally about to start. Then, I have to go to Wano-kuni again. Chapter 129 The Purpose of Sengoku, The Prophecy of the Dragon First More Seeking Subscription. Advertisement. Marine Headquarters, Marineford, Marshal's Office. The door was slammed open. Garp suppressed the angry figure and walked in. Garp. Sengoku looked at the old comrade in arms whom he hadn't seen for a while, and immediately guessed what he was coming from. Sengoku. I saw Garp walk straight to Sengoku, slapped his palms heavily on the table, and slammed the ladder. Why should Ace be executed publicly? Even if he is a pirate, Marine does not need to do this. You really came here for this, Garp. Sengoku also stared back at the old comrade in arms, and said loudly. You should understand why this is. Whose child is that guy Ace? Don't tell me you don't know, Garp. Garp's aggressive tone couldn't help but stagnate. Sengoku then shouted angrily. Also, the reason why Ace was able to escape the chase of the government and grow up to where it is today, Garp, don't think that the old man doesn't know what role you played in it. Garp's momentum is even worse. He didn't expect that everything had been found by Sengoku. Garp couldn't help but feel a sense of despair. If he was an ordinary pirate, Garp could still rely on his identity as a marine hero to survive. However, since Ace's true identity has been known by Sengoku, no matter what he says, there is no room for recovery. Garp gritted his teeth and sat down. But, there is always a reason, Sengoku. Sengoku saw that Garp calmed down a bit, and his tone slowed down. He told Garp the reason for the Blackbeard pirates who handed Ace to Marine. 727. Blackbeard teach. Garp repeated the name he heard for the first time. Sengoku, such an ambitious man who has endured for decades on the Whitebeard ship is not trustworthy at all, let alone give him the title of Shichibukai. It's not a question of whether you believe Blackbeard or not. Sengoku said in a deep voice. Don't you understand, Garp, how dangerous is the crisis hidden under the surface of the world? The prestige of the world government and Marine has reached a precarious point. We need an unprecedented victory, a victory sufficient to warn those ambitious eyes hiding in the dark to stop this increasingly chaotic era of great pirates. Garp shook his whole body suddenly, his fists couldn't help rubbing tightly, and his gray beard trembled. So, do you want to use Ace's identity to deter other forces and re-establish the prestige of the world government? Sengoku asked without evasiveness. Am I doing this wrong? Garp gritted his teeth and said unwillingly. But what caused this situation in the world is inseparable from the hopeless celestial dragons. Sengoku, you can't blame everything on one child. Ace is not as simple as a child, he is the son of the One Piece King Dear D. Roger, and the captain of the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates. Advertisement. Sengoku responded coldly. In addition, I have talked to 5 elders. Whether it is to converge on celestial dragons, Ace must die. The old man has already decided, plus days later, in front of the whole world, to execute the son of One Piece King Gear, D. Roger. Sengoku's decisive voice echoed in Garp's ears. The despair in Garp's heart spread to his eyes. Know your position, Garp. Garp was speechless, his expression was never gloomy. After a long time, Garp spoke hoarsely. Let the old man go to see Ace for the last time, don't worry, the old man won't be fooling around. Your brother Ace, 10 days from now, will be publicly executed at Marineford. So, what do you want me to do, Sabo? Revolutionary Army Headquarters. The Monkey D. Dragon, who was shrouded in a dark green windbreaker, placed his hands on the table and quietly looked at the young man in front of him. Sabo's body is like a javelin, standing there straight, Kaido without hesitation. Save Ace. Long Wenyan smiled softly. According to what you said a year ago, Ace, you, and my son Luffy are the best 3 brothers. I really should save Ace because of my feelings. But, Sabo yo, you will not forget our revolution. The idea of the army. Sacrificing the achievements of the Revolutionary Army for so many years for the sake of one person, I can't do something like that. I understand Mr. Long's scruples. The firmness in Sabo's eyes remained unchanged. I have already decided, this time to save Ace, it's just my wayward move alone, it has nothing to do with the Revolutionary Army. Long looked deeply at the determined young man before him. After a while, he stood up, walked in front of Sabo, patted Sabo on the shoulder, and laughed. Sure enough, I didn't misunderstand you, Sabo. I can rest assured that the Revolutionary Army will be handed over to you in the future. Sabo was taken aback, wondering why Mr. Long said these words suddenly. And then, Mr. Long's words made him extremely surprised, and moved almost to tears. Ha ha ha, Sabo, how can you, the chief of the general staff of the Revolutionary Army, enter the enemy's headquarters alone while your companions hide behind? A deep light flashed in the dragon's pupils. The Revolutionary Army has been silent for so long, it's time for be begged to do something. Sabo was very moved, but he also cared about the safety of his fellow revolutionaries. Mr. Long, there is no need to be alone because of me. Before he finished speaking, Long interrupted. No, it's not just because of you, Sabo. The dragon's voice suddenly became extremely low, and he said something that surprised and shocked Sabo. I have a faint feeling that this execution will trigger an unimaginable huge war. Some fogs that were invisible in the past will appear in this war. Especially the man behind the chaos in the world will definitely reveal his true face in this war. The news that Ace is about to be executed caused more commotion than Sengoku had imagined. Even the deeply hidden Revolutionary Army has to step in sideways this time. As for the four emperors of New World, naturally they have their own ideas. Advertisement. Wanokuni, the island of ghosts. When Kaido, who was drinking, heard that one of Whitebeard's captains had been arrested by the world government and was to be publicly executed. Kaido raised his head and drank a big sip, then stood up and laughed wildly. God helps me too. Ha 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 ha. The old man Whitebeard always treats his captain as his own son. He will definitely fight Marine. Below Kaido are the three plagues under his command. Jack the Drow said. Boss Kaido, so what? Do you have any good ideas? Plague Quinn cursed. It's stupid. I don't understand it. If Whitebeard fights Marine, his lair will not be empty. Jack's elephant's eyes widened suddenly, and he reacted. That way, we can take the opportunity to attack Whitebeard's territory. Jack immediately asked. Boss Kaido, let me be the pioneer. Quinn glanced at it and said in disgust. Isn't the limelight last time in Punk Hazard enough? It's lousy Quinn's turn this time. Jack immediately stopped talking. Everyone looked at Kaido boss. The muscles on Kaido's face bulged up like iron body, he grinned and said. There is no need to fight, such a good opportunity, of course everyone will go. After all, that is the territory of the old man Whitebeard. Kaido didn't match Whitebeard when he was on the Rock's ship. But by the way, Whitebeard was much stronger than him at the time, and later, he became the strongest man in the world. In Kaido's mind, it is false to say not to be jealous and fearful. Therefore, given the opportunity to occupy Whitebeard's territory, he certainly will not miss it. In the original book, Kaido did exactly that at the top of the war, but unfortunately, it was blocked by red hair pirates. But Kaido was excited at this time, clenching his fists, ready to fight. It just so happens that there are a certain number of tyrants, so let's try their power. However, next second, without warning, a voice that seemed to be from the abyss came from the sky above the Ghost Island. Buddha howls haha. Kaido, what's the point of occupying a territory with at most a sea area? If you want to occupy the world, Kaido. Mo Da's magnificent voice shocked everyone in the Kaido pirates. Especially the meaning of the words shocked them even more. As for Kaido and the three plagues, the moment they sounded, they knew who was coming. Only that person is qualified to call Kaido's name directly, and can say such things as occupying the world, right? Above the high altitude, a stalwart figure standing with holding hands slowly landed. Look at his figure, it's not Dover, who is it? Chapter 130 Dover's Plan, 3 Headquarters of 4 Emperors vs. Marine. 2 more seeking subscription. Advertisement. Joker. After a deep jealousy flashed under Kaido's eyes, he immediately laughed and said. What wind brings you here? In his eyes, there is no concealment of scorching heat. Is there a new smile fruit? Has it been produced? Dover descended on the Ghost Island, standing with his hands in his hands, his face remained unchanged. Smile fruit is so easy to produce. Kaido smiled awkwardly. The other party just brought him dozens of smile fruits not long ago, and he was too impatient. Kaido invited Dover to sit in the same row, and the 3 plagues sat down respectfully. Facing the increasingly terrifying man, they are now more restrained than in front of Kaido boss. Joker, what do you mean by occupying the world just now? Kaido looked inquiringly. Although I know that the man in front of me is becoming more and more unfathomable, but occupying the world, it is not possible to talk casually. The world government, which stood for 800 years in the world, could not even shake the One Piece Roger and the Rocks back then. How can it be so easy to say that occupation is occupied? Dover smiled deeply. Kaido, you also know that Marine is going to execute Ace, so you want to sneak attack on Whitebeard's territory, right? Kaido couldn't help but laughed awkwardly, taking advantage of the other's boss's absence, and attacking the other's nest. Although Kaido was not worried about doing this kind of thing, it was a bit unpleasant to say it. The Whitebeard pirates will definitely save Ace and confront Marine. This is inevitable, but... Dover's dark eyes became deeper and deeper, making Kaido's heart palpitations. Do you know why Marine took such a big risk and wanted to execute it publicly? In the history of Marine, public executions are not many. Marine catches pirates and usually sends them to jail or secretly executes them. The most vicious criminals will be sent to impel down. Public executions are extremely rare in Marine's history. Even in Kaido's impression, the last time Marine made such a fuss, it was the execution of the One Piece Roger. Thinking of this, Kaido was shocked and his eyes widened. Could it be that the kid named Ace? Yes. Dover's faint voice sounded like thunder in everyone's ears. Ace is the son of One Piece Roger. Suddenly, the entire Ghost Island was silent for a while. Yan Calamity Jin said. No wonder, Marine will not hesitate to go to war with Whitebeard and will be executed in public. Quinn pinched his mustache and sneered, Marine is to beat the mountain and shake the tiger, kill the chicken and become a monkey. Advertisement. Knowing the identity of Ace, the purpose of Marine's public punishment was also revealed. Kaido was stunned for a moment, then drank a bowl of wine and said. Unexpectedly, that fellow Roger still has heirs in the world. It's really sinister. In Kaido's view, Roger surrendered to Marine, which was really a foolish act. However, he actually left a child in secret, which can be described as continuing the blood of One Piece. Kaido, who claims that only oneself can become the next One Piece, is quite uncomfortable. But then, Dover's words made Kaido and the Three Plagues again astonished. It can be expected that once Ace's identity is exposed, it will shock the world. Apart from the Whitebeard pirates who will save Ace, another 4 emperors will not stand idly by. You mean the redhead Shanks? Yes, Red Hair used to be an intern on Roger's ship. He respects Roger the most. How could he allow the former captain's son to die at the hands of Marine? In the original book, the Red Hair does have to rush to the top of the war, but because it prevents Kaido from attacking Whitebeard's territory, time is wasted. By the time we arrived at Marineford, it was already late. Kaido's pupils full of infinite ambition suddenly burst into 2 terrifying lights. If the red-haired Shanks wants to intervene, they will be the 4 emperors, fighting against Marine headquarters. Regardless of Kaido's image of a reckless man, he is actually extremely shrewd except when he is drunk. The same is true for the other 4 emperors. She is sober-minded and good at calculations even without thinking about eating disorders. After all, it is impossible to be a fool to be the existence of 4 emperors. The 4 emperors are fighting against Marine. I am afraid that the entire Marineford will be destroyed. As mad as Quinn, his tone was full of shock at this time. Howl, howl ha ha ha. A deep, meaningful smile came from the terrifying man above. This is an unprecedented opportunity, Kaido. A war that will affect the entire world is about to break out. And after the war, the pattern of the world will also completely change. Marine will no longer have the power of the past. The world government, which has dominated the world for 800 years, will be in jeopardy. This is an unprecedented luxury feast. Kaido, don't you want to participate? The magnificent voice echoed throughout the Ghost Island. In everyone's heart, there was a terrible wave. Even if he is a foolish fool, he understands it at this moment. Master Joker is clearly inviting Boss Kaido to intervene in the destined earth-shattering war between 4 emperors and Marine. They also finally know what Master Joker said at the beginning, what it means to occupy the world. ... For flowers. Originally, only the Whitebeard Pirates team played against Marine, it was obvious that Marine had a greater advantage. Advertisement. But even if Marine wins, with Whitebeard's terrifying power to destroy the world, Marine will surely suffer heavy casualties. Then, add Red Hair Pirates. The White Group and the Red Group versus Marine headquarters. The strength of the 2 sides has reached a relatively delicate balance. The disparity in strength is not so big anymore, it is difficult to say which of the 4 emperors regiment and Marine headquarters will win. Or it may be possible that there is no winner. But, what if Kaido is added? That's 4 emperors groups. The scale of victory will lean towards the pirates. Once Marine is defeated, the world will be completely overturned. The possibility of occupying the world is there. In comparison, a sneak attack on a sea area of Whitebeard is insignificant. The pattern is far inferior. Everyone can't help being Lord Joker, the shocking plan, shocking inexplicable. Everyone in the Kaido Pirates has to admit that this man, in terms of measure alone, has surpassed their Kaido boss. Kaido's expression has never been moved at this time. He didn't know when his clenched fist was trembling slightly. Think of him, Kaido is also a top 4 emperor, and he is also the strongest creature in the sea, land and air, and the title of singles first. How can you recognize that the amount of equipment is not comparable to another man? What's more, Kaido is an extremely ambitious guy. His ambition is not only to be the Shanghai Pirate King, but also to dominate the world. And if there is a chance to pull down the biggest obstacle, Marine, who is undoubtedly the most powerful force in the sea. How can Kaido just let it go and let go of this opportunity? Seeing Kaido moved, Dover smiled slightly. As he had previously expected, for careerists like Kaido who are determined to dominate the world, world government and Marine are their biggest enemies. If they can defeat the biggest enemy first, even if they join forces with previous hostile forces, they will agree without hesitation. Dover's eyes narrowed slightly, flashing like the deep light of hell, and he said a word that made Kaido completely determined. Marine has forcibly called all Shichibukai. On the day of execution, when the Whitebeard pirates are facing Red Hair pirates and Marine headquarters, you Beasts pirates are ready to go and let Marine be in chaos. And I will be lurking on Marine's side, and at a critical moment, first will give Marine a fatal blow. Chapter 131 Kaido's Calculations, Garp and Ace 3 more seeking subscriptions. Advertisement. There are 3-4 emperors outside, confronting Marine. There is a terrible joke inside, as an internal response. It feels scary to think about it. Even if Marine is the largest power in the sea, facing such a lineup and calculations, its odds of winning may not be 30%. Kaido stared deeply at the Joker in front of him. As Joker said, this is indeed an unprecedented opportunity to destroy Marine in one fell swoop, and once missed, it is likely to be never seen again. Kaido almost agreed. However, he still has one last hesitation. That Scruples is Joker himself who made this terrible plan. Kaido is not afraid that Joker will turn back and help Marine. After all, Joker is also a pirate who may be more ambitious than Kaido. In any case, it is impossible for a man like Joker to stand on Marine's side. It's just that Kaido can't guarantee whether Joker will stand with him after Marine is defeated. 727 is Kaido's most scrupulous point. Although the two sides are now in an alliance, they are all based on the benefits of Smile Fruit and various secret arms transactions. And once Marine, the number one enemy, is defeated, whether the benefits of the so-called transaction can continue to be maintained, but no one can say. In particular, the strength of Joker has increasingly made Kaido invisible. Kaido didn't want to. He finally defeated Marine, but there was such a big enemy who looked at him and gave him a backstab behind him. Kazuki Oden's Kaido was overshadowed by this method. Of course, he must guard against others and use that method to deal with him. Kaido's thoughts turned extremely fast. Soon, Kaido's eyes brightened, and he thought of an idea. That idea can perfectly solve all the troubles. Jahahaha. Joker, you are such a genius. I didn't reveal the slightest what I thought, Kaido laughed and said. This matter, Lousy agreed. We are all pirates after all, Marine bastards, it's time to let them know that we are great. The muscles of Kaido's arm bulged up like a hill, and a domineering breath radiated from him. Everyone at Beast's Pirates shuddered with excitement. Is Kaido boss finally going to make a move? With Master Joker, Marine's group of bastards who have been domineering for hundreds of years will surely fall out of their eyes and be embarrassed to the extreme. Everyone trembles. Advertisement. However, as the initiator of Dover, his complexion was indifferent, and his heart was even more unknowing. Kaido will definitely not miss the chance to defeat Marine, which Dover had expected. But based on his knowledge of Kaido, he supposedly would pretend to refuse and bargain. And since Kaido agreed with just one bite, he must have some horrible idea. Dover waited calmly for Kaido to follow. Really? Kaido rubbed his palms and said with excitement. With Whitebeard and red hair in the front, plus you and me, the victory is basically established. But after all, Marine has been in the air for hundreds of years, and those old guys cannot be ignored. In order to avoid any accidents, Joker, how about looking at this plus Linlin? Dover raised his eyebrows. This is the machine front below Kaido. In Kaido's Linlin, besides 4 emperors and Charlotte Linlin, who else would he refer to? Dover's eyes flashed and he immediately understood the purpose of Kaido's move. He must not be at ease with himself, and at the same time he is not at ease with Whitebeard and the Redheads. Once Marine is defeated, Kaido will instantly become the lonely one. In order to avoid that from happening, Kaido wants to call on and befriend his Ant 4 emperors. I have to say that Kaido's move is really quite old. However, Kaido didn't know that the matter was in Dover's arms. Since we are going to start a huge war that has never been seen before, since we are going to smash the old era and create a new era. So, how can the 4 emperors, who represent the old age, not all enter the game? In fact, even if Kaido doesn't say anything, Dover has his own way to involve Charlotte Linlin in the top war. Seeing Dover nodded, Kaido was overjoyed immediately, and all his worries were gone, and he couldn't bear to laugh wildly. It's not too late, Joker, let's go to IWC now. How can such a world-shattering event be made clear on the phone? Kaido can't wait to tell the Ant. Dover had no indispensable truth, and now set off with Kaido to go to the world where the Ant Pirates is located. Only the petrochemical beasts pirates, including the 3 plagues, are left, and they are still on the Ghost Island. Not only the 3 emperors, but also the Ant Charlotte Linlin. This is to gather together the emperors of the 4 seas. At that time, the scale of the war will reach the point of horror, it is simply unimaginable. Kaido turns into a dragon, soaring through the clouds and driving the fog, heading straight for all nations. Dover stands with his hands behind him, his figure is even higher than Kaido, he can't see how to move, but the speed is not a bit slower than the latter. Advertisement. Before leaving, Dover intentionally or unconsciously glanced at somewhere in the Flower City. There, a beautiful woman like a noble peony was standing on the roof, her beautiful eyes seemed to pass through the infinite space, and she was looking at her beloved man. Xiaozi and Dover had a heart-to-heart relationship, and Dover had already passed a message to her when he came. Xiaozi seemed to feel the man's gaze, and smiled sweetly, eclipsing the sky and the earth. She turned around and smiled at Yamato who was not wearing a Prajna mask behind her, with bright red lips bent. Sister Yamato, our husband Kun-sama, we are about to do some great things that stun the past and the present. Yamato's pretty face blushed. Although she never said a word to Dover, under the influence of Xiaozi, she has really almost regarded Dover as her husband Kun. Thinking of that stalwart man who looks like a god, the love and admiration in Yamato's beautiful eyes cannot be concealed. Xiaozi watched this scene in his eyes, and smiled even more, but there was a trace of firmness and sharpness in the depths of his eyes. The husband Kun-sama is as great as the sky, and her role as the husband Kun's woman is behind the scenes of the great war that is coming. That is, to capture Wano-kuni and cut off the back of Kaido in one fell swoop. Storm is coming. It seems that the entire sea is covered with a damp color. In a certain place in the sea, such a depressed color persists over the years. That place is one of Marine's greatest support to deter pirates, the great underwater prison where countless fierce pirates are imprisoned, impelled down. Shiryu looked at the gray-haired marine hero Garp, walked into the elevator, and entered a dark room opened by the big prison. With a cigar in his mouth, Shiryu couldn't help but set off a sneer. He had already surrendered to Dover in secret, and Wilgo revealed some of his plans afterwards. Therefore, Shiryu knew that the second captain of the Whitebeard pirate group, who was kept alone in the dark room, was the son of the pirate king Roger. Looking at Garp's appearance, it seems that his relationship with the marine hero is also 4.6. Shiryu's mouth sneered widened a little, and he felt a sense of admiration for the mysterious young master who had never been masked. In the palm of your hand, use one piece's heirs as chess pieces, and play with marine, hero Garp, and even 4 emperors in your palm. That man is really scary. However, there is only such a terrible man, is eligible for his Shiryu's allegiance. When the elevator went down to the bottom, the door opened, and a ray of light shot into the dark cage. The eyes of the young figure who was depressed and bound by the seastone chain was pierced by the sudden light. He raised his head and looked at the old man who was walking towards him, his back seemed to be a little more pierced than before, and he subconsciously cried out. Grandpa Garp. Happy New Year's Day everyone. The climax of the next wave of the whole book is coming, the author will try to write it. Finally, thank you for your 1000 VIP reward. Chapter 132 Garp's Wrath, Journey of Nations, Happy New Year's Day. Advertisement. Ace, UB ********D. Why did you hide from the old man and become a pirate? Garp looked at Ace who was bound by the chain and described the miserable, tears in his old eyes, and said that he hates iron for nothing. Ace lowered his head silently, speechless. Garp sat down in front of Ace. The grandfather and grandson faced each other for a moment, and the atmosphere of grief and sorrow diffused. Garp asked sadly, when you told me to be a strong seaman, do you know how happy the old man is? But you deceived the old man and you have fallen into this situation. Garp rubbed his fist, and his white beard moved. What on earth do you let the old man do? Luffy boy, if he learns this news, what should the old man do, Ace? A greater, suppressed silence. Tears burst into Ace's eyes. After a long time, he pleaded, don't let Luffy know about me, please, old man. Garp gritted his teeth. I'm ready for Luffy to fly and hate the old man for a lifetime, but, sooner or later, Luffy will grow up and know about you 11, so Ace. Garp looked closely at the boy in front of him, no different from his own grandson, who was trapped in the picture at the moment. Can you tell me the truth? Back then, why did you go out to sea so early? Even if you want to be a pirate, you don't have to be so impatient, or even trick the old man to teach you cultivation. Ace, there must be something in this, the old man doesn't know why. The reason why Garp came to see Ace, on the one hand, wanted to see Ace, on the other hand, Garp also wanted to understand the root cause of Ace's premature going to sea. Ace's throat rolled twice. His eyes seemed to have returned to the desert island of East Blue, and once again saw the man who looked like a god, and he had no power to fight back when he raised his hand. It was the man who made himself realize his weakness. It was the man who told himself Whitebeard's best name in the world, and confirmed his belief that he would challenge Whitebeard first and then challenge that man. This is the root of everything. And Ace is no longer the hairy boy who didn't know anything, he already knew the man's name. But this matter, Ace has been buried in the bottom of his heart, even the old man Whitebeard did not tell. Advertisement. Because, with the growth of strength and knowledge, Ace felt more and more the terrifying hidden under the man's indifferent expression. Even in the bottom of Ace's heart, it is even more terrifying and powerful than Dad. Therefore, since getting on Whitebeard's boat, Ace actually gradually extinguished and challenged the man's idea. Sure enough, there is something hidden. Seeing Ace's expression, Garp verified his guess, his old eyes stared wide. Tell me, Ace, who the hell is that B********************? D. Ace's face was tense, and it took a long time to sigh. The matter was over, and he didn't need to hide Grandpa Garp anymore. Ace had a dry throat and said a name that shocked Garp's body. It's actually him. Garp had an unbelievable expression. He touched the white flower's beard, and it seemed that there still remained the burnt smell of being chopped by the sky thunder more than a year ago. An indescribable anger surged into Garp's heart. Garp almost gritted his teeth and shouted out the name of the thorn that has actually been stuck in his heart. Heavenly Yaksha. Doflamingo. It turns out that everything is because of you. New world. Above the boundless sky, a dazzling azure dragon, tossing in the clouds and mist. Its body is as huge as a mountain. Its speed is fast. I am afraid that anyone who sees such a dragon will be so shocked that he can't speak. However, what is even more unimaginable is that there is still a figure above the head of the cyan dragon. He stood with his hand holding his hand, and saw no movement, but Youngwoo automatically retreated behind him, and the speed was not slower than that of the Shenlong. This scene looked like the cyan dragon, his mount. The man is naturally Dover. And that cyan dragon is naturally Kaido. Dover's eyes swept across Kaido's majestic dragon scales, and his heart was also a little strange. Advertisement. At the beginning, he almost thought that Kaido was the capable person of dragon fruit. It's interesting that the phantom beast species of fish and fruit can evolve into a dragon. Dover twitched the corner of his mouth. The fruit of Kaido is the fruit of fish, and it can jump into a dragon soaring into the sky. Its title of the strongest creature in sea, land and air can be reasonably explained. JD, a touch of strangeness rose in Dover's heart. It was as if there was a very powerful person who was talking about him. When the practice of seeing, hearing, and S** X has reached a certain level, even if the distance is thousands of miles away, there will be some kind of harbinger of danger. Dover smiled immediately. At his level, even if it is Kaido, the strongest creature in the sea, land, and air, what about 730? What if it is the unknown and extremely powerful enemy? Can't let him shake long ago. The advancement of the times will not stop. Dover's steps in controlling the world will not stop. Even if the whole world is enemies, what about Joker? Wang Guo has arrived, the old lady Linlin, she will be surprised when she sees us. Ha 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 ha. At this time, Kaido underneath, a buzzing voice came. Dover gathered his mind and looked down again. A huge sea area has already appeared. This is a maritime country called Todo Land, composed of 35 islands. Above it, people of almost all races in the world exist. Therefore, it also has a more resounding name, that is, the nations. A country that includes almost all races, with Cake Island as the center. 34 islands are scattered around, whether it is stones, vegetation, books or gates, they all have life and can speak. Such a strange country unique to the world as the world. And the only one who can force everything together is the four emperors and Charlotte Linlin who thinks she is the most extreme. Chapter 133 Coming to the Nations, The Panic of the Ant Pirate Group, 2 more seeking subscription. Advertisement. At this moment, the main island of the four emperors pirates, Cake Island, is singing and dancing, and a lively scene. People of all races, together with flowers and plants, have smiles on their faces. Almost all of the ants' nearly 100 children were present. Today, it is the day when Wang Guo will hand in his life expectancy to his ant every 6 months. After the life is over, the happy ant will naturally hold a banquet and have a lot of food. Those who have turned in for a month, no matter what they think in their minds, they have to cooperate with the ant, and they are equally happy. Well, the huge ant, sitting in the center of the banquet, looked at the exhilarating atmosphere around, opened her mouth and smiled. Everyone, I'm very happy. The only regret is that everyone's height is too short, it should be taller, that is the real heaven in the dream. Beside the ant, Parasparrow, the eldest son, the minister of candy, dripped with sweat on his forehead. Higher. Is it to be as tall as my mother? How can normal people do it? Parasparrow knew that turning all people into giants was one of his mother's biggest dreams, so although he shuddered after thinking about it, he did not dare to show the slightest objection. The children of the ant on the field basically agree with Parasparrow's thinking. They think giantization is unrealistic and terrifying, but they all dare not say anything. Because mother's will is absolute in all nations. At this time, the ant yelled anxiously, Chef, haven't the cake been made yet? My mother is almost hungry. More than a dozen chefs, sweating profusely, said quickly. Okay, Mom, I've kept you waiting. Then, a huge cream cake that was several meters high was pushed out. Cake. The ant's saliva flowed out immediately. Just as the ant was preparing to start eating, and the atmosphere of Cake Island was at its peak. The originally cloudless blue sky suddenly became gloomy. Question mark. What's wrong? Is it going to rain? God is too shameless, right? The banquet is only halfway through. The most damn it is that my mother's yaksing is also disturbed. Brother Parasparrow, just make a candy roof to block the rain, right? Parasparrow's long tongue was stretched out, looking at the dark clouds that suddenly gathered above his head, a bad feeling loomed in his heart. This dark cloud doesn't look as simple as rain. Yes, this is not a natural dark cloud, but thought caused. On the other side of Parasparrow, a calm and serious voice came. Advertisement. Everyone looked at it. It was Charlotte Katakuri, the first of the 4 stars and the strongest second son under the ant. What did you find, Katakuri? Parasparrow asked hurriedly. Katakuri's muscles are tight. With his observation hockey that surpasses everyone, Katakuri can feel that there is a great danger in the dark cloud. Everyone, get ready for the battle. Fight against. Is there an enemy invasion? Hearing the rare solemn tone of Katakuri, there was a commotion on the court. Who, so bold, attacked Cake Island? Moreover, such a big dark cloud is created, which clearly doesn't put us in our eyes. HMPH, the guy hiding in the dark clouds must be good looking. Everyone called the device. As the subordinates of the 4 emperors pirate group, facing enemy attacks, they are all consistent weapons. Katakuri shouted in a deep voice. The enemy this time is different. It will be unimaginably powerful. The danger contained in the dark cloud, even Katakuri felt depressed. How could it be that simple? Some people think that Katakuri is too cautious and disapproves. How strong can it be? We are members of the 4 emperors group. Suddenly, it was a sympathy. However, this noisy echoing sound, not long after it sounded, seemed to be choking the neck, and the summer stopped. A strong sense of depression that does not require observation hockey, and it suddenly covers everyone's hearts. Along with it, a huge air current surged down from the sky. That is, the crowd raised their heads in amazement. I saw the dark clouds being pushed away, and a huge, hideous blue dragon head appeared. Dragon. It's a dragon. Shocked, someone turned pale and said. Does the legendary creature like the dragon really exist? This is too big. Even the 4 stars such as Kata Curry, as well as the eldest son Parasparrow and others, were shocked and their pupils dilated. Dragon, is it? Parasparrow seemed to have thought of something, even more shocked in his heart. Could it be that the person at the same level as Mom came? The moment the cyan dragon head emerged, the ant's hand that had gone to take the cake also stopped. Advertisement. With the familiar breath on the head, the ant didn't need to look at it with her eyes to know who was here. The ant raised her head yinly, looked at the cyan dragon head, and shouted angrily with a sharp noise. Kaido, you old boy, take the devil fruit that the old woman gave you back to you. Do you go to the old woman's site to demonstrate? What? As soon as the ant's words fell, everyone present immediately petrified. Here comes the 4 emperors Kaido. And the devil fruit of Kaido, or the mother gave it. The amount of information is so huge that everyone is dumbfounded. Above the sky, Kaido originally wanted to give the auntie to disarm her, but fortunately, it will take the lead in the alliance soon after. But I didn't expect that Linlin's old lady of damn it would tell his secret as soon as she came up. Make Kaido so embarrassing. Kaido coughed a few times before suppressing his heavy aura and disappeared. Quote. Ha ha ha, Linlin, it's been a long time. But you don't have to talk about that all the time, right? Besides, in front of so many people. Humph. The ant sneered triumphantly. Anyway, Kaido, don't forget to owe your old lady a favor. Immediately afterwards, the ant asked again. Also, why are you coming to the world? My old lady does not remember to invite you to come. Kaido's cyan dragon head shook, and a quirk flashed through his lantern-like pupils. Linlin, I'm here this time, but I want to give you a great gift. Big gift. The ant was taken aback. That old kid Kaido was so kind. Just as the ant was about to continue to inquire, there was a deep, chilling voice in everyone's heart, which came from above the dragon head of the Bai Jiaohao beast Kaido. Buddha howls haha. It is indeed a great gift, but it depends on whether you have the courage to take Big Mum. The dark clouds above Kaido's dragon's head disappeared, and a calm figure with his hands on his back emerged. And at the moment that figure appeared, a power that was heavier and more terrifying than Kaido had just appeared, suddenly came to everyone's hearts. It's so heavy. Who is that person? Just relying on the momentum, it actually makes me almost out of breath. A more terrifying aura than Kaido, and that person is still standing on top of Kaido. Is there a stronger presence than Kaido? An uneasy mood spread on the Cake Island. The scene in front of me was really shocking. The hidden meaning is even more incredible for everyone. The muscles on Kata Cooley's body collapsed to the extreme in an instant, and the cold hair all over his body also fell. Just now, based on what he saw, he didn't realize that there was another person in the dark cloud. Chapter 134. The real deterrence is to describe this kind of thing. 3 more seeking subscription. Advertisement. On Kaido's dragon head, there is a man unexpectedly, which surprised the ant Charlotte Linlin. The ant suddenly felt that the figure seemed to have been seen somewhere, and when she took a closer look, she couldn't help saying with a trace of astonishment. 7 Warlords of the Sea, Doflamingo, Joker. The words came out. On Cake Island, the ant's pirate group also changed from amazement to consternation. Doflamingo, Joker, the name of the dark middleman that has become more and more popular in the dark world in recent years, is almost unknown in the world. However, that is nothing more than a Shichibukai after all. In the hearts of the world, although Shichibukai is powerful and has a special identity, there is still a certain gap in strength compared to the 4 emperors. But now, the man who is only Shichibukai, is standing at a higher position than the 4 emperors Kaido, and the beast Kaido, who has always been fearless, did not show the slightest anger. Seeing that the visitor is just a mere Shichibukai, the ant's voice became extremely sharp. Kaido, you are really going back. A Shichibukai can stand on your head and pee. What peeing? Linlin, don't talk nonsense. Kaido was also a little angry when the ant said so badly. He lifted the dragon form, turned into a human, and stared at the ant fiercely. Joker and Lousy are allies. Alliance. The ant laughed even more. I haven't seen you for decades, Kaido, you really disappointed my old lady. You will actually form an alliance with a mere Shichibukai. Shichibukai is one of the 3 major maritime forces that rank 730 alongside Marine and 4 emperors. But except for Mihawk, the eagle-eyed Mihawk, who knows his strength, everyone knows that Shichibukai is basically far below the 4 emperors. In fact, a considerable part of the current Shichibukai is the defeat of the 4 emperors, and even has secretly surrendered to the 4 emperors. Humph. I thought that Kaido would be very angry when he received such humiliation from his aunt. Unexpectedly, Kaido just snorted coldly, his eyes flickered a few times, and he laughed instead. Linlin, Joker is no ordinary Shichibukai. Yes. The ant frowned. Kaido's reaction was beyond her expectation. But the ant still doesn't quite believe how much Shichibukai in a small area can do. The fierce gaze turned to the indifferent man who stood holding his hand, and the ant sneered. Joker is it. No matter if the old kid Kaido has made an old mess, but you want to be on the same level as the old lady, you don't have the qualifications yet. Dover looked calm and indifferent. Advertisement. His eyes were not emotional, he gave a warning to the ant and the children of the ant on the Cake Island, and said lightly. Qualifications are never required by anyone. But if you want to play Big Mum before accepting the big gift, I am also happy to accompany you. Discoloration. Beg. Everyone in the Ant Pirates group, some can't believe it, that man who is only Shichibukai, wants to challenge their mother. Although that guy's aura is indeed terrifying, Kaido seems to be afraid to neglect him for some reason. But stubbornly ingrained in the concept, people are already unbelievable, a Shichibukai dare to challenge the four emperors. What a crazy kid. The ant was irritated by Dover's indifferent tone. No one has ever dared to not put her in his eyes like this. Kaido, if my old lady kills this kid later, don't regret it. Ha 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 ha. Lin, if you can do it, just do it. Kaido has already slipped to the side, arms folded, as if watching a good show, his heart is sneered. It just so happens that Lin helps me to test the strength of Joker again. But Lin is deflated, and it will be no problem for me to secretly form an alliance with her. For Dover, Kaido has long been jealous, but has never been able to find an opportunity to test how far Joker's strength has reached. In addition, his purpose in coming to the nations is to forge a secret alliance with the Ant, to guard against Joker, Whitebeard and Red Hair in the future war. Therefore, Kaido is very happy to see the scene before him. That's good, the Ant screamed. In the next moment, a breath that was terrifying to the depths of the soul rose from the Ant's body. Although the Ant is still standing in the same place, invisibly, her soul is already huge enough to fill the world. Such a terrifying soul, I am afraid that no one in the world will not be afraid, right? Everyone on Cake Island was shivering. They had just handed in a 1-month lifespan, and they knew what their mother's attitude meant. The eldest son, Perispero, is unavoidable to dare. I have never seen my mother show such a strong soul power, that guy is going to be unlucky. Among all the people, I am afraid that there is only Katakuri, who thinks things will not be that simple. That man. Katakuri watched deeply, the man still standing with his hands high in the sky. It was the first time Katakuri saw a man who could not change his face under the deterrence of such a terrifying soul of his mother. Advertisement. The ant released the power of the soul to ultimate, even Kaido was shocked. Gia. The ant's soul seems to be in the sky, with scarlet eyes, staring at the man above the sky, and shouting a sentence that no one in the world is afraid to curse in his bones. Life or dead. Quote. The deterrence derived from the soul, at this moment, has reached the peak. Even the people on the Cake Island that have not been targeted, they all feel their souls are trembling, and they seem to collapse. The ant who is originally stronger in soul than ordinary people, and then has the ability of soul and soul fruit. On the level of the soul, I am afraid that no one in the pirate world is stronger than the ant. The bell of death has already sounded. Will that man be afraid? Katakuri also watched this scene stubbornly. A ray of red light flashed in his eyes, and Katakuri wanted his vision to see the short-lived future, predicting the man's next move. However, Katakuri could not see anything. It seems that the man is a god that can't be detected at all. The deterrence of the soul. The man who was watched by everyone spoke again, and the corner of his mouth turned into a sneered arc. What a boring trick. Let me tell you, Big Mum, the real deterrence is what describes this kind of thing. Dover didn't see any movement, only his eyes narrowed slightly. In an instant, the unspeakable breath, centered on Dover, diffused around. That breath can't be said to be horrible or not, it is only pale, and it erases everything in the world from the paleness of color. Under the aura, the ant's soul power collapsed almost instantly. And the whole Cake Island is also shrouded in that breath, and the magnificent colorful cream is only pale. People seemed to have turned into stone, and in this pale hell, even the fear could not be felt. Only a few people still maintain a little awareness. As this conqueror's hockey, there are still such conquerors in the world. Katakuri's heart is turning up with a monstrous wave. He is also the owner of conquerors, but his conquerors is compared to the high-altitude conquerors, who turns the world into a pale man. It is simply Firefly and how you competing for glory, and the two are not at the same level. Kaido, who was planning to take the opportunity to observe Dover's strength, twitched. Joker's current conquerors is obviously more powerful than when he collided with him on Ghost Island more than a year ago. As for the Big Mum that greeted Dover conquerors head-on, the pupils also shrank into pinholes in an instant. On the first day of the new year, everyone must be happy. Chapter 135 Katakuri's Anomaly, Ants Shaking. Advertisement. Conquerors. Aunt Charlotte Linlin's eyes also revealed incredible colors. Such conquerors is almost beyond the scope of human understanding. In the high-altitude man conquerors washing underground, the whole Cake Island turned pale. Countless people fainted, including many children of the ant, unable to withstand such pressure. The ant's face became extremely ugly. Just now, she asked Chi to teach the other party a lesson. Don't want to blink, the other party didn't even move a little finger, and his side has already suffered a heavy loss. And the soul-powered talent who gave his best, didn't play a half-point effect. On the contrary, he was even taught a lesson by the other party. The ant was very angry, picked up the red hat on her head and screamed. Napoleon. The hat immediately became like a sword. Prometheus. Not far away, a golden flame flew. Mom, here comes. The flame was wrapped around the sword. A sword that burns flames, an emperor's sword. Mom is angry. The emperor's sword, but there has been no enemy for a long time, so I can let my mother use this trick. If you can't make it, the entire Cake Island will be destroyed. Those who remain sober are all powerful elites under the Ant Pirate group. Therefore, they know very well how terrible an angry mother is. And the Joker who only revealed a part of his strength and made the world lose its color, they now clearly understand that he can't be regarded as an ordinary Shichibukai. It is clearly an existence of the same level as the four emperors. Katakuri, stop mom, if this goes on, Cake Island will be ruined. Parasparrow said to Katakuri in horror. The only children under the ant's command are Katakuri, who is the strongest, and there is a slight possibility to stop her. However, Katakuri did not move. He is just a man on the sky. I didn't know when the two fists were touching them tightly. Brother Katakuri. Advertisement. Behind Katakuri stood Bree, who was blocked by Katakuri for a large part of the pressure, and did not faint. Bree looked at Brother Katakuri with some concern. Although she was a faithful brother blowing, as a person with the ability of mirrored fruits, she actually knew Katakuri's greedy brother hidden under the calm appearance. Eat the other side of a hot-blooded boy. Similarly, Bree knows that Katakuri attaches great importance to family affection. I am afraid that he has suppressed extreme anger in his heart for the fact that his mother gets sick from time to time and even kills their brothers and sisters. In the original book, Katakuri let Luffy fly for many times. After being defeated by Luffy, he even asked Luffy, will he come to defeat Big Mom in the future? It can be seen that Katakuri disagrees with the ant. But at this time, few people noticed the abnormality of Katakuri. People are all terrified for the upcoming battle of the four emperors level. The emperor's sword is broken and the sword is broken. The ant jumped, stood on Zeus, brandished a huge knife that was entangled in flames, and attacked Dover. Dover still looked blank. A mad woman like Ant always has to teach some lessons to become a little quieter, right? Just as Dover was about to move, he raised his brow and stopped. I saw that in the next moment, Kaido waved his mace and collided with the ant's emperor's sword. Moment. A huge ravine has formed in the sky. The only thing that was not affected was the sky where Dover stood. Kaido, you be asterisk 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 D, are you really going to fight against my old lady? The ant yelled angrily. Kaido yelled back. Lin, that's enough, stop making trouble. If you want to make trouble, go to Marineford and make a big deal. Having initially tested Joker's strength, Kaido cannot allow the two to continue fighting, otherwise his plan would be bankrupt. What did you say? Kaido's words made the angry ant suddenly startled, and immediately said viciously. Kaido, are you trying to hurt my old lady? Marineford, that's Marine headquarters. Although the ant is arrogant, she is not a fool. On the contrary, except when thinking about eating sickness, the ant can be regarded as very shrewd. Marineford, as the Marine headquarters, is like a cloud. Even if the ant is the four emperors, if she goes there to go wild, she will only be sent to impel down, right? All you say, Lin, stop making trouble, let's finish talking first. Say quickly if you have anything, don't bother my old lady and teach that kid. Kaido saw that the ant was somewhat calm, he was relieved, and hurriedly explained their intentions. When she heard that Whitebeard's second team captain Ace, who was to be publicly executed by Marine, was the son of One Piece Roger, the ant was shocked. That fellow Roger has heirs left in the world. I was surprised when I first learned about this. Kaido said, Roger's son is going to be publicly executed. What is Marine's intention? I don't need to say more, right? Marine wants to use the means of killing the son of the One Piece to frighten them, these big pirates, and now everyone can see it. Advertisement. The ant sneered. That fellow Sengoku has a great idea. Please ask for flowers. However, the old man Whitebeard would never allow such a thing to happen. Similarly, as the red-haired boy who was a former member of Roger's ship, he would not stand idly by. What will happen to Marineford then? Lin, you can also think about it. Are you there? Hiss. In the awake children of the ant, there was a sound of cold breath. Do the two four emperors play against the Marine headquarters? That's really just imagination, and it feels terrifying. The ant's face also changed, and she seemed to have a vague understanding of Kaido's intention. Ha 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 ha. Kaido suddenly laughed wildly. Lin, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With Whitebeard and red hair blocking the front, we only need to attack from both sides, causing Marine an unexpected hit. And Joker will act as Shichibukai, become an internal response, and give Marine a fatal blow. Lin, the opportunity to destroy Marine is here. Kaido laughed wildly, almost spread all over the world. Everyone who understood the meaning of that sentence was petrified in an instant. Destroy Marine. This is normal, but I can't even think about it. After all, Marine is the well-deserved number one power in the sea, and the top powerhouse alone is not comparable to a single four emperors group. But, if it is the emperor of the four seas, they will attack Marine at the same time. So even if Marine has a deep heritage, it will definitely suffer an unprecedented blow, right? And, coupled with the mysterious and terrifying Joker Sama should respond. It seems that it is not impossible to destroy Marine. Rao is an ant, and she figured this out in an instant. Although she looked very uncomfortable with the man named Joker, the ant also had to admit that Conquerors, whom Joker had just revealed, was enough to be tied with her. If this person should respond internally, they are the 5 four emperors level powerhouses who will attack Marine. Marine's advantage in the top powerhouse is gone. As for the superiority of the number of ordinary seamen, it has no meaning at all compared to the 4 emperors class powerhouses. The ant only needs a strange sound to make the ordinary Marine Vice Admiral fall into a state of fainting, let alone those ordinary Marines. At this time, the man who seemed to be walking in the garden came to the place where the ant and Kaido confronted each other. Dover glanced at the ant who was already moved, and said a word that made her eyes shine and completely shaken. Big Mom, I heard that you are studying a huge experiment. I can tell you that Marine's research on this experiment is already ahead of the world, and that is the blood factor involved in the realm of gods. Chapter 136 Ant and Kaido's Plan, The Heart is Bleeding Pudding. Advertisement. All staff become giants. It is a big obsession of the ant. The blood factor can make even smile fruit, so it is of course possible to make a person huge. The ant's eyes shined. Really? Dover leaked a little information about the blood factor. It made the ant even more excited. Well, with this technology, everyone can be as tall as me, and the kingdom of heaven can be realized. Kaido on the side saw the opportunity and hurriedly agitated. Lin, whether it is for your dream or occupying the world, this opportunity to destroy all marines must never be let go. Well, of course. The ant didn't hesitate anymore and shouted. The group of bastards at Marine, since the master has used giant technology, but didn't take it out, it's really damn it, and must be severely taught. The words of the 730 ant indicates that another 4 emperors will join the war on the top. Coupled with Dover hiding in the dark, that upcoming, unparalleled huge war will surely be more than 10 times more terrifying than in the original work. Now, a battle between 4 emperors-level powerhouses disappeared invisible. However, everyone who witnessed the conversation just now was in an unprecedented nervousness. Because, the Emperor of the 4 Seas and the mysterious and terrifying Joker-sama, the war with Marine is about to begin. The conversation is over. As the host, the ant will naturally entertain the 2 partners Dover and Kaido. The grand banquet continues. The people who had just been stunned by Dover conquerors, after waking up, they were shocked to find that the Joker was sitting at the table with his mother and the beast Kaido. Moreover, both Mom and Kaido dare not to neglect it anymore. After all, in that huge war, Dover's internal response was very important. Although the ant still dislikes Dover from the bottom of her heart, she doesn't dare to be as arrogant as she was just now. It can make my mother restrain her temper, this man. Parasparrow, Katakuri and others couldn't believe their eyes. Advertisement. A beautiful girl with big ruby eyes, light brown wavy shawl and long hair, sweet-looking, fair-skinned, wearing a pink one-piece dress, is also staring at her head in a daze. What kind of person is that man who is still calm alongside his mother and Kaido? The girl, but the 35th daughter of the ant, is actually Charlotte. Pudding of the 3-eyed family. Pudding has been discriminated since childhood because of the 3rd eye, and he is even more afraid of the ant. Naturally, for those who could suppress her mother for the first time, she didn't dare to lose her temper. Without moving her fingers, all the guys on Cake Island who had laughed at her when she was a child fainted. In Pudding's heart, curiosity inevitably arises, and even involuntarily, he is attracted by the man's kingly demeanor that is better than his mother and the beast Kaido. It may be an arrangement of fate. Soon, Pudding had an opportunity to learn more about Dover. Night. In a secret room on Cake Island. The ant and Kaido were smiling darkly at the moment, obviously discussing some sinister plan. Well, GG, Kaido, you old boy, you are really insidious, you don't believe that Joker at all. Of course, Lin, you have seen that guy's hockey during the day. How far is his true strength? Even Lousy can't see through it. That's true. The man's hockey during the day actually surprised my old lady. Lin, I am here this time to form another alliance with secrets. Fortunately, there is nothing wrong in that battle. This is good for you and me. Ha ha ha, Kaido. Don't forget the kindness you owe me. Don't keep talking about it, okay? Kaido and the ant are really discussing how to guard against and even deal with Joker's plan after that war. The ant suddenly turned her conversation, and smiled profoundly. In fact, you are afraid of Joker, you don't have to be so troublesome, as long as you control the other person's thoughts. Kaido was surprised, and immediately said in disbelief, Master Joker's idea. How is that possible, Lin, don't you make such a joke. My old lady didn't joke with you anymore. The ant turned her head and looked at another person in the room. My Pudding, as you know, has an ugly 3rd eye, and has the ability to read people's memories. Pudding has been standing with his hands, listening to the secret words of his mother and Kaido. When they heard that the 2 were actually going to deal with the man during the day, Pudding was subconsciously worried. But she dared not show it. When the ant looked at her and called her ugly 3rd eye, Pudding's inferiority and sadness flashed past, but Shui Nen's pretty face showed a sweet smile. Advertisement. Yes, Kaido-sama, people are capable of remembering fruits. Oh, Kaido moved slightly. If you can know the thoughts in Joker's mind, then it is indeed more effective than all precautions. But thinking of the horror of Joker, Kaido is still a little worried. It's not that easy. If it is discovered, it will be terrible. Humph. The ant heard this, and immediately laughed mockingly. Kaido, I didn't expect you old boy to be so afraid of that Joker. I really disappointed my old lady. Then what Marine headquarters and what world do you occupy? Just surrender to that Joker. In a word, Kaido's face turned into pig liver color. Lin, your words are too bad to hear. It doesn't matter how long the ant and Kaido, the friends who are like old lovers, have been fighting each other again. In short, after all, Pudding was sent out to read Dover's memory. Don't worry, Pudding. Before leaving, the ant smiled and said. I have put ecstasy in Joker's room, he is probably asleep now. Pudding smiled sweetly. Thank you Mom, my daughter will not disappoint your expectations. Turning around, sweet smile disappeared quickly. 4.6 Mother sent her to read the memory of that terrible man who was undoubtedly 4 Emperor's level, but it was actually no different from asking her to get chestnuts from the fire. If she is discovered by that man, she will definitely die, right? And when the time comes, my mother will definitely not avenge her for the war with Marine, maybe even happier instead. Because, in the future, there will be no own daughter with an ugly third eye, dangling in front of mother's eyes. Pudding's heart seemed to be dripping blood. The footsteps did not stop. The fear of his mother has been carved into his bones, and Pudding has no courage to resist his mother's orders. After I walked out of the building where the secret room was located, a voice stopped Pudding. Pudding, are you going to that man's residence? Pudding was startled, and looked back. It was her mother's strongest general Star Kata Cooley who stopped her. Chapter 137 Kata Curry and Pudding. Advertisement. Mom asked you to spy on the adult who came during the day, right? Kata Curry's mouth is hidden under the scarf wrapped in layers. The sharp eyes showed a scarlet color. Pudding inevitably throbs. Although the strength of Kata Cooley brother is not as good as that of his mother. But in terms of insight and the degree of confidentiality, it is undoubtedly the strongest existence in the Ant Pirates. It can even foresee the short-lived future. Pudding didn't think he could hide Kata Curry, and nodded silently. Pudding, Kata Curry said in a low voice, if that adult finds out, you will die. Since the adult dared to face his mother and the 4 Emperors Kaido during the day, Kata Curry knew that Heavenly Yaksha was not a soft-hearted person. If Pudding dared to peek into his memory, it would be more fortunate than fortune. Pudding's face was pale, apparently 11 had anticipated the consequences. She trembled in her pale lips. Brother Kata Curry, what should I do? If I don't follow my mother's orders, Tears fell from Pudding's cheeks. Kata Curry's fists couldn't help clenching tightly. They are the ants' children. On the one hand, they have been living under the protection of the ants' powerful strength since childhood. On the other hand, they also hated the ants' arrogant and indifferent indifference to the life and death of their children. It's just that I am afraid of the horrible strength of the ant, and dare not show it. Relax, Pudding, I'll go with you. The two walked towards the palace where Dover was. Thank you, Brother Kata Curry. Advertisement. On the way, Pudding was grateful. She wiped the tears from her face and pursed her mouth. But brother, you still don't want to go with me. Although Kata Cooley brother is very powerful, he can't be an opponent at all in front of an adult who can compete with his mother. Don't worry, Pudding, I'm not a fool either. Kata Curry waved his hand. Pudding can only wipe away the anxiety and worry in his heart. Arrived at the door of the main hall where Dover rested. Before the door was pushed, a playful voice came from the door. Buddha Shao, come in, 2 people. Pudding was shocked. That person knew they were coming. Kata Curry looked as usual, and pushed the door straight in. Pudding was frightened, looking at the back of Kata Cooley brother, gritted his teeth and walked in. It seemed that there was a breath from hell rushing to his face. It seems that the whole body's blood is about to freeze. Almost suffocated. There are bleeding pictures in the pupils. Dead mountain and blood sea. Endless killing. And at the end of the killing, an invisible figure sat on the scarlet throne. Meet Lord Heavenly Yaksha. Pudding was awakened by Kata Curry's voice, only to realize that it was an illusion just now. It was an illusion that was awe-inspired by the indescribable aura radiating from the body not far away with Erlang's legs and red wine at random. Advertisement. Pudding gave a cold face, and quickly fell on one knee just like Kata Curry. Farewell to Lord Heavenly Yaksha. Dover looked at it playfully, and the siblings in front of him said lightly. You come to me, what's the matter? Although he had some guesses in his mind, Dover wanted to hear the two tell him personally. Pudding, tell Master Heavenly Yaksha everything truthfully. Kata Cooley turned to look at Pudding. Pudding was startled, and then gritted his teeth and told the truth. Sure enough, after hearing what Pudding said, the corners of Dover's mouth evoked ridicule. You have the fruit of memory, so Ant will naturally not fail to take advantage of this. Speaking of your memory fruit 733's actual ability, it is a bit similar to Violet. Do you know that I am a person with the ability to remember fruit? Pudding stared at the man in front of him blankly. It seemed that even if she didn't tell the truth, the man would have guessed her purpose long ago. You really are not an ordinary existence. Kata Curry didn't seem surprised. Mom and their plans are already in your master, right, Lord Heavenly Yaksha. Dover smiled without saying a word, just glanced at Kata Curry who was kneeling on the ground. So, what is your purpose, Kata Curry? Kata Cooley is sitting tightly on a chair, an unfathomable man, this is the man he identifies. One word at a time. I hope, one day you can come and defeat Big Mom. For this, Charlotte Kata Curry, I am willing to be loyal to you from now on. Chapter 138 Pudding, your third eye is so beautiful. Advertisement. Pudding looked at Brother Kata Curry in disbelief. I can't believe my ears. Brother Kata Curry is going to betray his mother. Even though Pudding just explained his mother's purpose, it is also a kind of betrayal. But, she never expected that Brother Kata Curry was so decisive, and left no room for it. Dover looked deeply at Kata Curry. In the original book, this person fought with Luffy and repeatedly released the water. When he finally fell, he also asked Luffy whether he would come to defeat the ant. Kata Curry is a person who values affection and righteousness, and attaches great importance to family affection. To some extent, the ant who goes crazy at every turn, or even kills her own children, is the biggest enemy of Kata Curry, who values family affection. However, it was also because of family affection and the disparity in strength that he couldn't do anything to his aunt himself, so he used external force. But the ant is a powerful and incomparable emperor, and the whole sea can beat the ant's person, can be counted with one hand. How can Katakuri be so easy to encounter? In the original book, Luffy, the only Straw Hat recognized by Katakuri, is more of a gamble. Bet Luffy can come to the world again one day and defeat the ant. But now, encountering Dover who can go hand in hand with the two four emperors, and even dared to make a move against Marine headquarters, Katakuri doesn't need to bet anymore. There is no doubt that Lord Dover and Heavenly Yaksha have the ability to defeat the ant. In summary, Katakuri will completely fall to Dover. Dove laughed loudly. Katakuri's refuge was an unexpected joy, and it was reasonable. Dover stood up long and stood with his hands up. Advertisement. 4 emperors. That's just a moth of the sea. Such moths will be trampled to death one by one day. Big Mom is no exception. Katakuri took a deep breath, and kowtowed. The subordinate will wait for that day to come. Dover was in a good mood and lifted up Katakuri. Turning his head, he looked at Pudding, who had been shocked and dumbfounded. I have to say that Pudding is an out-and-out beauty. His skin is like milk, and the little purple is gorgeous, like cherries. Although the ant looks unspeakable now, she heard that she was a beauty when she was young. No wonder she could give birth to such a daughter. It took Pudding a long time to come back to his senses, and noticed that Master Tianyi Yaksha was watching her, knowing that he had to speak up too. Pudding has been living in an environment where she was discriminated against by her aunt since she was young. Pudding had no feelings for the ant, and he no longer hesitated at the moment, and fell to Dover. In this way, Dover got the allegiance of the 2 children of the ant with no effort. One of them is Katakuri, who is second only to the ant in strength. Moreover, Dover believes that when he attacks all nations, more members of the ant pirates will turn to him. This is the truth when one gets more help, but one loses one. Pudding, you can take part of my memory, so as to hide it from Andy and Kaido. Dover deliberately created a part of the memory and let Pudding show it to Kaido, so as to completely dispel the worries of the latter two. When Pudding finished taking the memory fragments, Dover looked at the little beauty close by, and a nice fragrance appeared on the tip of his nose. With a move in his heart, Dover suddenly stretched out his hand and lifted Pudding's bangs covering his forehead. Advertisement. Pudding's body trembled, his pretty face pale as paper instantly, and his eyes even revealed despair. I saw that in the center of the bright and white forehead, one eye was tremblingly closed. This is Pudding's third eye. Pudding is actually a tri-eyed clan. Because of this third eye, Pudding was discriminated and mocked by the ant and others since he was a child. Quote. He saw my eyes. Pudding was terrified. This third eye is the source of Pudding's low self-esteem. She was afraid that Lord Heavenly Yaksha would not accept her refuge because of the ugliness of her third eye. She who has betrayed her mother, but there is really nowhere to go, Zhao Hao Hao, a dead end. Open your eyes. There was an indisputable voice in my ears. Pudding didn't have the courage to resist at all. In despair, he opened the third eye on his forehead. The eye was large, dark brown, trembling, full of tears, and glowing with tears. It was pitiful and pitiful. It is said that this eye can still be awakened. Once awakened, it can see through all the secrets of the world, and even the historical text can be interpreted, which is very mysterious. Dover touched it with a big hand, and sighed sincerely. Pudding, your third eye is so beautiful. Chapter 139 Sengoku's Anxiety, Shichibukai Gather. Advertisement. See the fragments of memory brought back by Pudding. Kaido and the ant were overjoyed, and no longer doubted. For the forthcoming battle, it is even more gearing up and can't wait. After all, the 4 emperors and Marine are rivals, and if they have the opportunity to completely subvert Marine, how can Kaido and the ant not be excited? At the same time, Marine headquarters, Marineford. In recent days, Marineford has presented an extremely busy and depressing scene. Outside the port, warships return almost all the time. Marshal Sengoku actually recalled the Marine military forces of the branches all over the world, and those who can recall the headquarters, they have been recalled to the headquarters. I can't believe it. With such a terrifying military power, who is Marshal Sengoku planning to go to war with? Hey, your news is too late, right? I haven't heard of such a big wind. Shortly after, Marshal Sengoku will publicly execute Firefist I-733. Can you not pay attention to it? Firefist Ace. Is that the captain of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates? No wonder, the enemy is the terrible Whitebeard. Huh, even if it is Whitebeard, we Marine has assembled so much power, we will definitely make it come back and forth. These ordinary Marines have never seen Whitebeard, so they have no actual impression of Whitebeard's horror. On the contrary, Marine not only has more than 100,000 troops, but also 3 top combat powers such as Admiral, Marshal Mr. Sengoku, and Hero Garp. It is no wonder that ordinary Marine will be confident of victory. However, as the initiator of this war, Sengoku, the president of Marine, frowned more and more as the day of execution arrived. In fact, if it is only against the Whitebeard pirates, Sengoku's own estimate is that they have a great chance of winning on Marine's side. However, for some reason, Sengoku always has an ominous premonition. That ominous source is not Whitebeard, who claims to be the strongest in the world, but... Advertisement. Sengoku's eyes flickered uncertainly. Soon, he actually called someone. The man was in a red coat, he was extremely burly, and his expression was indifferent, even facing Sengoku, he was arrogant. Sakazuki, all those Shichibukai are here, right? Sengoku stared at the man in front of him. This person is actually the last of the three admiral, the lava fruit-capable person, Saraski nicknamed Akainu. Yes, Mr. Marshal, all those villains are here this time. Facing the destined attack of the Whitebeard pirate group, Marine naturally spared no effort and went all out. Shichibukai was also forcibly summoned. Sengoku nodded, but his face was dark. Saraski, I asked you to come this time because I wanted you to help stare at someone on the battlefield. Sengoku said suddenly. Oh, Akainu was quite surprised, and asked in confusion, who? Brother Doflamingo. Which guy? Akainu naturally knew Dover. Frowning, a small Shichibukai, is it necessary to stare? The old man's goal is Whitebeard. Don't underestimate that man, Sengoku said solemnly. Beg hesitated. Sengoku couldn't tell the embarrassment of being blackmailed twice by Doflamingo. Anyway, you do what I said. Understood. Now that Sengoku gave the order clearly, Akainu nodded. However, Akainu's heart still disagrees. It's just a small Shichibukai. Even Shichibukai can't be considered the strongest, and he can't be valued by Master Sakazuki, who has the highest combat power and daring to challenge the four emperors. When Akainu left, Sengoku sighed. Advertisement. In fact, Sengoku can't be sure, does the source of the anxiety in his heart come from Doflamingo? But Sengoku has no more time to determine and test. The war is just around the corner. If he is investigating a Shichibukai now, then I am afraid that the war has not yet started, and the people inside are already panicked. In order to stabilize the military's spirit, Sengoku could only ignore Doflamingo, the damn it guy who made him hate it, for the time being. Everything will be said after the war is over. Sengoku took a deep breath and picked up his mood. I got up and stood up and walked out the door. Before the war, he had to meet the 7 villains of Shichibukai. In the conference hall not far from the marshal's office. The atmosphere is extremely heavy. Square round table. 7 ordinary people sitting there will be frightened when they see it. They are tall or short, or look terrifying, are handsome and beautiful. These 7 people are very different in appearance and temperament. And the only thing in common is the arrogance that comes from the bones. Dover looked at the 6 Shichibukai around him, but only stopped for a moment on a few people. One was Hawkeye, who lost to him that day and seemed to be more aggressive at the moment. The other was Blackbeard Teach, who laughed triumphantly and didn't know he had become a doll of Dover. A faint smile was drawn from the corner of Dover's mouth, and he finally fixed his gaze on the body of the world's first beauty Empress Boa Hancock, who was sitting next to him. The beauty of this woman made Dover, who was surrounded by countless beauties, couldn't help but admire. It's been a long time, Hancock. Chapter 140 Empress's Brain Supplement. Advertisement. In the current conference hall, in addition to Dover, the other Shichibukai members are the Pirate Empress Boya, Hancock, Hawkeye, the world's largest swordsman, Dracula Mahawk, Storm Coon Bartholomew Bear, Shadow Fruit Ability, Moonlight, Moria, Blackbeard Marshal Teach. As for the seaman Jinbei, because of his close relationship with the Whitebeard pirates, he was unwilling to take action against Whitebeard, and was imprisoned by Marine in the great undersea prison. The 6 Shichibukai present were all unruly and self-respecting, and they had little conversation with each other. Therefore, when Dover greeted the Empress Hancock, his voice was very low, and his head would inevitably be passed by. It's been a long time, Hancock. The last time Dover and the Empress met were when the Celestial Dragons were arrested in Roswad. I said hello, but for a long time I couldn't hear the other party's response. A long-lost frustration rose in Dover's heart. I have long heard that the Empress Hancock is extremely cold and hates men most. I didn't expect to ignore him. Dover, who has always been surrounded by beauty, naturally felt a little uncomfortable. But the discomfort and frustration disappeared in a blink of an eye. Even though Hancock is beautiful, his strength is not weak, but he hasn't reached the point where he has to pay attention to it. If you can capture the hearts of beauties, it will certainly be the icing on the cake. But if it can't, it doesn't matter. For the upcoming world-shattering war, for Dover's huge plan to count the entire world into it, what can a woman count? Davuso closed his eyes to recuperate, and his mood was also unwavering. However, where did Dover know? Just now, the reason why Hancock did not respond to him was not because of the high coldness, but because of being shy. Advertisement. Yes, it's spoiled. After seeing the scene where Dover subdued celestial dragons, the stalwart figure of the man was deeply imprinted in Hancock's mind. After returning to Nine Snake Island, Hancock started to burn. He was weak and his mind was full of Dover's shadow. It took a long time for Hancock to return to normal. Hancock's sisters, as well as the people of the daughter country, thought that Her Majesty was in the room alone this year and was trying hard to cultivate. But how did you know? Hancock's room is full of photos and news from Dover. The female emperor has already fallen completely. Even if he was willing to listen to Marine's call this time, it was just to meet the man next to him. In fact, after entering this conference hall and sitting next to Dover, extremely accidentally, Hancock was already nervous, and the crystal clear skin of his whole body collapsed tightly. Finally saw him again. Hancock almost raised his throat with his heart. Although she was sitting on the surface, her expression was cold and repelling people thousands of miles away, but the corner of her eye was actually looking at the man she longed for. And when Dover took the initiative to get close to him and even called her Hancock. Hancock's brain was blank for a moment, almost venting. He still remembers his concubine's name. Is he proposing in a concubine? Yeah, how can this be? How can you propose to someone as soon as you meet? They are not ready yet. After a moment of blankness in my mind, there are countless brain supplements, and even the brains have been supplemented to the night of the bridal chamber. Hancock was so shy, he naturally forgot to respond to Dover, causing the latter to think that Hancock was too lazy to talk to him. The brain supplement was finally over, and Hancock barely recovered from his shyness. She glanced at Dover with watery eyes, and saw that the latter was closing her eyes and resting. Her eyes flashed, and her heart hummed slightly. Today, Hancock is wearing a purple-red patterned cheongsam with a perfect golden ratio, porcelain and white jade legs, and an amazing length. Please ask for flowers. Is this the pirate Empress Boa Hancock, who is known as the #1 beauty in the world? It really is a fairy. On the field, there was a hefty smile. Advertisement. It's the newcomer in Shichibukai, Blackbeard Teach. Hancock despised Blackbeard on the opposite side with a high-pitched look. The red lips vomit lightly, with unspeakable nobility and contempt. Disgusting man, he is not qualified to call his concubine by his name. Blackbeard's smile was stagnant. GG, really cold enough. Hancock dismissed Blackbeard and raised his hands, his black straight hair flew up, and then fell to his waist. The beauty at that moment seemed to make the dim room brighter. Hancock didn't care about other people's gazes at all. After that, he just secretly observed the reaction of the man next to him. Seeing that the other person was still closing his eyes, he felt uncomfortable in his heart even more. In spite of a ghost, Hancock Porcelain White's right leg suddenly lifted and placed it on his left leg. This action seemed to be extremely accidental and touched Dover's leg. Dover, who was closing his eyes and rested, suddenly felt the strangeness of his legs. Opened his eyes in surprise and looked at the stunning beauty beside him. Accidentally. Still not careful. Do not. Like a strong person of this level, how can there be so many carelessness? It's just that, didn't she hate men and just didn't want to talk to herself? How? Dover thought for a moment, and felt that there was only one possibility. Hancock must have been intentional just now, even though his eyes were a bit playful. Dover was about to speak when suddenly there were a few footsteps outside the door. The door opens. 3 figures appeared. It was Marine Marshal Sengoku, Chief Staff Officer Crane, and the hero Garp. Individual. Chapter 141 Empress Tsunere, Sengoku's threatening words. Advertisement. Sengoku, Garp, and Suru came together. These 3 can be regarded as legends in Marine today. Even if all of you present here are powerful Shichibukai, these 3 people are also quite jealous. Sengoku scanned the group of heroes, and when he saw Dover, he didn't pause at all, but his pupils shrank imperceptibly. The 3 legendary Marines sat down opposite the round table, and Sengoku first spoke. You've already known the purpose of the government's summoning of you this time. But the old man must emphasize again that our enemy this time is the 4 Emperors Whitebeard pirate group. Sengoku's voice was low and could not hear any mood swings. The expression is solemn and stern, showing the majesty of martial marine. Dover looked at the Sengoku trio with interest. This is the first time that he officially met these 3 legendary Marines when he came through with 737. But before that, Dover's various actions, especially blackmailing Sengoku billions of Baileys, bombarded Garp and Crane with thunderstorms, leaving the 2 dumbfounded and faceless. In the bottom of their hearts, these 3 people probably hated Dover long ago. It's just that at the moment, none of the 3 of them shows up. Dover knew why. The war is right in front of us. With Sengoku's mind, it is naturally impossible to cause internal instability before the war begins. This is also the reason why Dover has no fear, and came to the Marine headquarters alone. Too lazy to listen to Sengoku's emphasis on the importance of the so-called war, Dover refocused his attention on Hancock beside him. Observing closely, Dover discovered that although Hancock looked cold and turned away thousands of miles away, his snow-white skin was tight. Together with the white jade hand placed under the table, it was rubbed tightly, and there was even a slight trembling in the face. Hancock was visibly panicked when he noticed that Dover was staring at her. His eyes dodged, beautiful eyes trembling. On the flawless and beautiful face, there seemed to be a hint of blush. However, this woman is trying her best to hide, pretending to be indifferent. Dover found it more interesting. Advertisement. Dover, who has the perspective of God, knows Hancock quite well. Generally speaking, a female emperor like Hancock, who is extremely cold and doesn't have the slightest affection for men, is never panicked or even shy because of a man's gaze. And there is only one reason that can make the proud empress panic and shy. That is, Empress Hancock fell in love with that man. In the original book, that man is the protagonist Luffy. In this life, it is Dover. If you think about it, it's not surprising. Celestial dragons is Hancock's dream monster since childhood, and Dover, who can play celestial dragons between his palms, will leave Hancock with an indelible impression. That impression will become more and more profound with the passage of time. Hancock's emotional experience is like a 2/8 girl, innocent and white, and it is inevitable that it will fall more and more. You can see this from Hancock's nervous look at this time. The corner of Dover's mouth was slightly curved. Hancock, this woman, obviously has fallen in love with herself deeply, but she can't let go of the female emperor's heirs, she is really enough for Tsunere. At this time, Hancock didn't seem to be able to bear it at all, Dover's burning eyes seemed to see her inside and out. What do you look at? Hancock turned his head, beautiful eyes glaring at Dover. It's just that her scolding with a face-to-face voice reveals her true inner thoughts. After Hancock whispered, he immediately turned his head back and sat down tightly, as if listening to Sengoku's speech seriously. This woman is really cute. Originally, Dover was only attracted by Hancock's peerless face and figure. But at this moment, Hancock's unique tsundere character and his high-responsibility empress status make Dover more eager to try and want to conquer this woman. Dover put his big hand under the table. When I touched the soft snowy jade hand, I obviously felt the jade hand's master's body tremble. Advertisement. Hancock glared at Dover again, his beautiful eyes seemed to be breathing fire. Dover smiled playfully. With a slight pressure on the fingers, Hancock's jade hand, which had been rubbed tightly, opened and was held by Dover. Hancock's beautiful eyes seemed to be angry, to the point where it can't be added, but the jade hand seems to have no bones and no resistance at all. Tomorrow's battle must not be lost. Although you are pirates, you are Shichibukai after all. If Marine fails, you will not be better off. You should consider the pros and cons of it. Sengoku said loudly. Shichibukai is a very strong combat power. If these 6 people can use their full strength in the battle of tomorrow, then Marine's odds of winning will increase by a step. However, Sengoku also knows that his words are just whimsical. All Shichibukai here are unruly and rebellious, and they won't follow his martial Marine's words. In fact, Sengoku's next sentence is his real purpose. One more thing, the old man must warn you. If someone wants to use small tricks on the battlefield tomorrow, they must be conscious of the unending death of the government. As soon as the voice fell, Sengoku turned around and walked away with Garp and Crane. Ha ha ha, that old man dared to threaten us, Moria said with an ugly expression. Jayahaha. This war is of 4.6 significance to Marine and the government. As a marshal, Sengoku doesn't want to make a mistake. Blackbeard smiled yin yin, his cold eyes flickering. He suspected that what Sengoku had just said was directed at him. Because, Blackbeard does have a plan to make a big move in this war. That is the ability to mess up the big prison impel down and then seize the Whitebeard shock fruit. Could it be that my plan was discovered by the old Sengoku boy? Blackbeard was a little frightened for a while. Where did Blackbeard know that what Sengoku meant at the end was actually targeting Dover? It's just the latter at this time, the palm of the hand is the slender hand of the world's #1 beauty. Regarding Sengoku's warning, he didn't even care about it at all. Chapter 142 The 4 Emperors attack, and the war on the top begins. Advertisement. Sengoku's last few words really scared Blackbeard. It is not advisable to stay here for a long time, I have to hurry to impel down as soon as possible. Blackbeard's eyes flashed. His subordinates were already waiting at impel down. Regardless of whether his plan has been discovered by Sengoku or not, Blackbeard can no longer stop at this moment. From the moment he killed Sachi and betrayed Whitebeard, he had nowhere to go. The era in the future belongs to Lousy. A fierce color flitted across Blackbeard's face. This is the end of the matter, he must start the established plan sooner and faster. That night, Blackbeard quietly left Marineford. In the conference hall, other Shichibukai left one after another. When Hawkeye Ludover's side, he looked deeply at the man who defeated him by 11 in the kendo. Joker, do you mean this war by the change of the times? Without waiting for Dover to answer, Hawkeye continued. Where will the destiny go? Where will it go in the future, still in the mist? Looking at Hawkeye's back with Black Blade Knight on his back, Hancock couldn't help frowning at Hawkeye's inexplicable words. Dover smiled slightly. Hawkeye hasn't seen the future clearly yet. It is also true that the outcome of this war is clearly inclined to Marine at the moment, and it is reasonable for Hawkeye to be difficult to choose for a while. Without mentioning Hawkeye, only Dover and Hancock are left in the hall at the moment. Both of them stood up. With their fingers clasped together, they could no longer hide under the table, but were exposed to the light. Hancock seemed to be finally aware of this, his face flushed suddenly, and he pulled out his jade hand and glared at Dover. You. So rude. Rude. Is it just rude? Advertisement. Dover was amused. If you change to another man, let alone touch Hancock's jade hand, just make a few humorous words, I'm afraid he will be turned into stone and kicked into powder by the latter. Dover had a wicked smile on his face. Walked towards Hancock step by step. Until the corners of his lips were close to Hancock's crystal clear earlobe, it seemed to be bloodied. Tomorrow, remember that if there is something wrong, leave here immediately, you know. After speaking, he gently kissed the blood-stained rosy crystal earlobe. Immediately, Dover left in a hurry, leaving only Hancock, who was flushed and almost shy and fainted. Dover was moved to Hancock, naturally he didn't want the latter to have any accidents. Even though Hancock is powerful, the scale of tomorrow's battle has reached the level of 4 emperors, and there may even be a terrifying existence that the world can't imagine. Hancock didn't know this, only one sentence was rippling in her mind at the moment. He was caring about me, and he kissed my ear. Hancock forced himself back to his bedroom, pretending that nothing happened. Then AP****** K rushed onto the bed and buried his hot head in the quilt. New World. Wano Kuni. Kaido almost brought all the troops he could bring. This battle will be the battle that will determine the future sea and who will lead it. Kaido must win. Jack, Wano Kuni will be handed over to you before we come back. There must be no mistakes. Don't worry, big brother Quinn, wrap your little brother. In the 3 plagues, Quinn and Jin all had to follow Kaido to the top of the battlefield, and Wano Kuni's hometown was thrown to Jack the Drow for protection. Little ones, let's go. Everything is ready. Kaido let out a thunderous roar. The Mighty Beasts Pirates team is heading towards Marineford. Advertisement. A similar scene also happened in IWC. Well, Kata Curry, I will leave the management to you for the time being, let's set off. Under the order of the aunt Charlotte Linlin, including the eldest son Perispero, Owen, Dafu and other children, as well as the pirate group under the command of countless aunts, set out together. Behind the aunt, Kata Curry solemnly bowed her head to lead her command. Yes, mother. But no one noticed the indifference in his eyes. And putting behind Kata Curry, Red Sakura lips, and even a sneer. The other end, set off earlier than Kaido and Auntie, and unlike the former two with a large team, Red Hair Pirates, which has only one boat, is already on the way to Marineford. 737 inches. Did you find Whitebeard and the others? On the deck railing, Red Hair asked. No. Beckman took a breath. The spies searched all the waters that must pass to Marineford, and found no trace of the Whitebeard pirates. That's it. The redhead was a little disappointed. Originally, he actually wanted to dissuade Whitebeard and Marine from starting a war. But Whitebeard ignored him at all and must save Ace in his own way. Since the war is inevitable, Hongfa decided that he must also participate in it. He couldn't just watch Captain Roger's son be executed by Marine. Beckman, where are you talking about? Beckman didn't answer, but looked at the magnificent sea under the ship with his wise eyes. The red hair knew immediately and laughed. Although the two did not use words, they already knew that the other party was the same as their own guess. That is one. The Whitebeard pirates must go to Marineford through the bottom of the sea. And the facts are exactly like this. Chapter 143. Their respective expansions, the day of execution has arrived. Advertisement. In addition to the dispatch of the four emperors, there is also a wave of strength that cannot be ignored, also secretly marching towards Marineford. That is the Revolutionary Army. Sabo, the current second in command of the Revolutionary Army, saw the news of Ace's arrest that day, and his childhood memories came back to life. The deep friendship of the three brothers, how can Sabo sit back and watch Ace be executed? Sabo must go to Ace. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long, who knows Sabo's character deeply, thought about it, and decided to send the four army commanders and Sabo to the Marine headquarters together. This decision, Long has also been carefully considered. On the one hand, he couldn't let the heirs he painstakingly cultivated and hope for the future of the Revolutionary Army to be buried in Marine's hands. On the other hand, it is Dragon's judgment based on the world's situation. The era is being pushed in an unknown direction by some unknown force. Our Revolutionary Army can no longer wait to die. After seeing off Sabo and others, Long himself was not idle. He will lead the rest of the Revolutionary Army, and when Marine has transferred all its troops to the headquarters, and some important places have been exposed, he will put those places on the Revolutionary Army. In fact, it is not just the Revolutionary Army that wants to take the opportunity to expand its power. East Blue. In Arlong Paradise, Bellamy licked his lips with his scarlet tongue, and showed bloodthirsty and infinite pious eyes in his eyes. Finally, this day has finally come. Bellamy, are you ready? Don't let the young master down again. Next, a man in baby clothes said. Of course. Bellamy clenched his fists tightly. Master Senor, I have waited too long for this day. I will definitely dedicate the entire East Blue to Master Doflamingo. Occupy East Blue. At the time of the war on the top, Dover also ordered Bellamy to occupy East Blue. Of course, with Bellamy's strength, there are still shortcomings. Advertisement. But in addition to the family officials from Dressrosa, Senor and other family cadres, as well as the secret help of Alabasta and Virgo, the occupation at this time does not have any powerful power plate and Garp and other powerful marines guarding East Blue, then it is more than enough. North Blue. In the former kingdom of Germa, the huge ships have long been replaced by the Donquixote family logo. A beautiful demon-burned woman like a butterfly, standing on the high tower. She is gorgeously dressed, wearing a crown, and she is a queen. Giggle. Queen Reiju, is it time to order the departure? If the North Blue cannot be unified before the end of the war, Master Joker will blame them. Huang Peng's beautiful voice comes from an exquisite woman with rugged bumps, but queen of the pleasure district Stussy. The current queen of Germa is naturally Vinsmoke Reiju. Reiju glanced at the woman next to him, and sighed inwardly. There was Stussy, who represented the terrible man, and even if she didn't like war, she had to start a war to conquer the entire North Blue at this time. More importantly, even if Reiju did not order, the clone soldiers in Germa would actually attack. Because those clone soldiers have long been controlled by that terrible man, and they have all become capable of man-made devil fruit. Reiju is not capable of controlling them at all. Thinking of this, Reiju nodded and waved. Pass the order, the whole army will attack. Boom. Give an order. There are tens of thousands of German soldiers ready to go. These clones have no emotions, are not afraid of death and pain, and they are all zone man-made demon fruit power. In the war, they all turned into beasts that only knew how to fight. Just thinking about it was enough to scare people. Your Majesty, mighty. Stuss clapped his little hands, his red lips curled up. Reiju gave the woman another look. Advertisement. She naturally knows that the reputation of this female queen of the dark world is more authentic than her queen of the pleasure district. But, it's such a character, but he is willing to stand up and down for that man. Thinking about it this way, what is your ability to escape the clutches of that man? Thinking about it, there was a faint resentment in my heart. Quote. Damn it guy, they will be in your hands for the rest of their lives. Dover, who was far away at the Marine headquarters, seemed to feel the grudge from Reiju, thinking. Clatter. Next to it, the high-heeled soles clashed with the floor. Dover returned to his senses and looked at Hancock amusedly. After walking around for a while, This woman found out, and she just acted as if she didn't care about herself. It was really funny and cute. Hancock wore a red patterned cheongsam with a slender waist and a slender waist. The arc curve below was thrilling, worthy of the title of the world's #1 beauty. Before no one noticed, Dover stepped forward and unceremoniously grabbed the slender waist of the world's #1 beauty. Hancock squeezed all over, Zhao Haojiao trying his best to stay calm. Hancock breathed a sigh of relief when the sun poured into his eyes and the big hand on his slender waist left, but his heart was still plopping like a rabbit. Standing on the high steps, you can clearly see the circular port with only one gap from here. On the square of the harbor, standing solemnly are more than 100,000 elite Marines. On the higher execution stage, kneeling is Roger's son Ace Song. Sengoku, also standing there at this time. Today is the day of execution. These more than 100,000 Marines, 3 Admiral, Shichibukai, are all waiting for a powerful man, Whitebeard. However, they would not have thought that an existence far more terrifying than Whitebeard would have been quietly among them. Chapter 144 Dark clouds are over the city, and Whitebeard is here. Advertisement. On the huge square, more than 100,000 people gathered here. The atmosphere is warm but depressing. At this time, 3 tall figures walk to the 3 chairs under the execution platform. Akainu Sakazuki, Kazaru Porisalino, Aokiji Kuzan. 3 Admiral debut. All Marines' momentum is shocked. What a sense of oppression, you deserve to be Lord Admiral. Ha ha ha, with Admiral, even if the enemy is Whitebeard, there is no need to be afraid. Let the pirates come back and forth. Awe-inspiring. On the execution platform, Ace saw this scene, and his expression dimmed. It seems that he is inevitable today. Ace is not a man who is afraid of death, but he still has too many things to do, and there are too many regrets that have not been completed. Suddenly, Ace seemed to think of something. Suddenly raised his head and looked somewhere. That's where Shichibukai is. He really is here. The person Ace is looking for is naturally Dover. In a trance, 737 Ace seemed to have seen himself as a child for the first time a few years ago when he met the man. If it weren't for that man, maybe I wouldn't go to sea so early, maybe I wouldn't meet Whitebeard, and maybe I wouldn't have fallen to where I am today. Ace's feelings for Dover are extremely mixed. This man can be said to have influenced the trajectory of his life. Dover, who was secretly molesting the Tsunere Empress Hancock, sensed Ace's gaze and looked up. Ace shifted his gaze immediately. The corner of Dover's mouth turned. Even without Dover's help, with Ace's character flaws, sooner or later, he would not be able to escape the fate of being executed, but there was a little time gap. Advertisement. In fact, the current scene may be better for Ace than in the original book. Because, the future war is not a 4 emperors like Marinev's Whitebeard in the original book. Rather, Marinev's 4 emperors plus Todover's super chaos. Beg. In such a super chaotic battle, even Akainu will not take care of Ace. Maybe Ace is lucky and can escape. Thoughts turn around. Suddenly, Dover looked into the distance, and said faintly. Coming. As his voice fell, countless ship shadows suddenly appeared above the sea level. Attention, all Marines, the Whitebeard pirates are here. Sengoku standing at the top, holding the phone worm, suddenly yelled. There is a shock in everyone's hearts. People from all over the world are shocked. Sengoku used the video phone worm to spread to the world in this war to promote Marines' prestige. The battle between Marine and 4 emperors is finally about to start. Gia, the Whitebeard pirates, I really look forward to it. I will definitely receive more zombie soldiers in this war. Moria bared her fangs and laughed wildly. But, how come there is only Whitebeard's pirate ship, the Moby DK? Some people have questions. Gululu. As if answering his question, a lot of blisters suddenly appeared on the sea very close to the port. Immediately afterwards, a huge pirate ship coated with a film emerged. The Mobile. It's the Mobile. People are shocked. The Whitebeard pirates actually came from the bottom of the sea. Sengoku's face is a bit ugly. It was invaded by Whitebeard to such a close place. When Dover heard this, he couldn't help showing a hint of irony. Sengoku's acting skills are really superb, and Whitebeard's invasion of this place is clearly within the plan of this old boy. Advertisement. Look at the river bank that surrounds the entire port. It is not an ordinary river bank. The seastone wall device is actually buried under it. In the original book, Sengoku relied on these seastone walls to make dumplings for the Whitebeard pirates and wiped out the Whitebeard pirates. And now, Dover, who knew this a long time ago, will naturally no longer be as Sengoku wishes. Those seamen who control the device have long been controlled by Dover's parasite string. Dong dong dong. The loud, extremely heavy sound came from the Moby DK. It was like a sledgehammer hitting the heart, making people's spirits involuntarily strained. A very tall and stalwart man walked to the bow of the Mobile. The strongest man in the world, Whitebeard Edward Newgate debuts. As soon as his person appeared, an indescribable sense of oppression rushed straight into the entire Marine headquarters. Father. Ace saw Whitebeard's figure and shouted with exhaustion, tears streaming down. Hey, Ace, don't worry, I'll save you. Ace. The captain of the Whitebeard team appeared together, including the Phoenix Marco, Diamond Joes, Foil Vista and so on. Everyone, Ace's tears can't stop streaming. Sengoku, standing next to Ace, is the strongest man in the world. Whitebeard. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard also looked at Sengoku and grinned. I haven't seen you in decades. Sengoku, how is my son doing? Well with you? Sengoku said in a deep voice. Whitebeard, fight Marine decisively. Are you aware of the destruction of the Whitebeard pirate group? Ha ha ha. Whitebeard looked up to the sky and laughed. Cut Kong Yun to stand aside. The muscles of the arms bulge high. Immediately, it slammed into the air. My sons, continue to gallop freely on this sea, Sengoku. Chapter 145 Whitebeard furious, unexpected collision. Advertisement. The muscles of both arms bulged like a hill. Seeing Dad's posture, Marco and the captains quickly hid aside. Ha ha ha, Father's posture like this, but I haven't seen it in some years. Marco said with a sigh. Since Dad's body became ill, Dad's number of shots has decreased. Of course, there are very few people worthy of Dad's shot in the whole sea. Boom. It's like a broken mirror. Whitebeard doubled his punches, hit in the air. The space was shattered in an instant. It opened up. Be careful, the strongest man in the world is going to show off. Garp, who had been silent for a long time, couldn't calm down at this time, and shouted. Hey, Whitebeard grinned. The vibration emanating from the double fists traveled along the atmosphere, to the sea, and to the bottom of the sea at infinity. But it will take some time to see the real horror of Whitebeard's trick. What's the matter? Nothing happened. Is Whitebeard bluffing? How is it possible? Didn't you see that the atmosphere is cracking? More than 100,000 Marine panicked because of Whitebeard's punch. How could Sengoku allow this kind of emotion to spread? Just about to move, a figure that made him feel extremely surprised unexpectedly jumped out. On the steps where Shichibukai stood, the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye suddenly jumped out. In the kendo competition, I lost to you. However, I still want to see how far we are from the strongest man in the world. Dover raised his eyebrows. Hancock, who was next to Dover, also heard Hawkeye's words, and there was a wave of waves in his heart. This man like an eagle unexpectedly lost in the kendo competition. Hancock couldn't help looking at Dover beside him, his beautiful eyes overflowing with admiration that could not be contained. As expected of the man the concubine fell in love with. Advertisement. Not to mention what kind of brain supplement Hancock got into, Hawkeye took the lead. Not only Sengoku was surprised, but Admiral was also extremely surprised. Akainu, located in the middle of the three Admiral, couldn't help but look. The Hawkeye, who has always been doing its own way, is going to make a move this time. I saw Hawkeye pulling out the huge black sword knight behind him. Hold high. Immediately, slashed violently, buzzing. There seemed to be a roar in the void. Immediately afterwards, at the mark of the black sword knight, a huge sword light that was tens of meters long, suddenly appeared. The huge sword light, the whole body is emerald green, and the entire port is dyed with color. Such a terrifying slash is rare in the world. It seems that Eagle Eye's kendo during this period has improved a bit. Dover thought secretly. Hawkeye's attack was even more terrifying than the slash in the original work. The huge slashing wave crossed a distance of kilometers in an instant and flew towards Whitebeard. Whitebeard's eyes closed, just when the chopping wave was approaching Whitebeard. A stout figure blocked the front. Diamond Jaws. What? Jaws's body was covered with hard diamonds, and he let out a loud roar, sending the chopping wave to the sky. Such a slash was actually blocked. People are shocked. However, more shocking things are still to come. Hearing that the sea suddenly shook suddenly, accompanied by a loud rumbling sound, it was like the wrath of the sea god. When the sea and the sky meet, the waves of 100 meters high are coming. It's a tsunami. The back of Whitebeard's move just now caused a tsunami and turned into a tsunami. Advertisement. Ask for flowers. Sengoku on the execution stage was full of anger. Marine, with more than 100,000, was panicked instantly. Such a terrifying tsunami, if it comes down, I am afraid that the entire Marineford will be submerged under the sea. Is this the power of the world's strongest Whitebeard? Monster. It's a monster. When Whitebeard and Marine started to collide. The Kaido pirates and the Ant pirates, who came from Wanokuni and Wanguo, were in trouble. The two of them had planned to wait for Whitebeard and Marine to fight you to death, when they suddenly came to the court to reap the benefits. 0. Unexpectedly, they were discovered by red-hair pirates while they were traveling. Looking at the red-haired Shanks standing with the sword, the Ant's sharp voice shouted. Redhead, are you going to fight with us? The red hair at this time is actually in a dilemma. If it's just one of Kaido or the Ant, the red hair has the confidence to let them retreat. However, the Ant and Kaido are connected. This is very difficult. With his red hair alone, he is not enough to resist the two four emperors. Shanks, we'd better rush to Marineford as soon as possible and tell Whitebeard about this. Beckman whispered. Shanks nodded. Can't fight hard with the two four emperors, the best choice at the moment is to rush to Marineford as soon as possible. But before leaving, the redhead has one more thing to ask. Kaido, mother, your goal is also Marineford, right? Why do you choose to join forces at this time? This is where red hair worries the most. The appearance of Kaido and Auntie is really unexpected and coincidental. It's as if there are two hands behind them, controlling all this.